Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have an absolute madness because we are going to do a This Is Not a Top 10. And I recently did a couple This Is Not a Top 10. One was focused on Orange Blossom. The other one was focused on Narrowly. Both came from the same bitter orange tree. And I really believe that to understand perfume for the people wanting to take the next step, understanding the ingredients is one of the most important things. I would say once I got a chance to smell the individual ingredients, it took my perfume breakdown experience and understanding to another level. And so focusing on these individual ingredients is something that I find very important, especially for the future of FragCom, if you will, or people wanting to try to find this stuff on YouTube and research and learn more. That being said, I broke that down into two videos, and a couple folks said, I don't really see much of a distinction between the two. You could have probably done it together. The problem is it would have made the video huge. So I'm going to test this making the video huge theory, because today we're combining two ingredients that are basically from the same plant, but they're listed as separate ingredients normally. One is called Cistus, and the other one is called Labdanum. And sometimes you'll see it referred to as Cistus labdanum, but normally they are differentiated, if you will. Even though they both come from the Cistus ladonifer plant, it is separate ingredients, and the labdanum usually refers to the absolute. Cistus usually refers to the oil. You'll also see it sometimes referred to as gum rock rose. That's the plant itself. Historically, and I don't know how it's done now, but back in the day, they would literally let goats mosey on over there and chew on these plants because the resin is so sticky and it would get in the goat's beard, and they would literally have what was called a labdanum brush. They would brush it out of the goat's beard to extract the oil. It was easier doing that than trying to mess with the plant itself. So it's one of my favorite smells in all of perfume. I would say it has its own, it could be a perfume in and of itself. And I've talked about labdanum individually. There's an entire episode dedicated to individual ingredients. I did a live stream with Russian Adam. You can check that live stream out. Also, there is an interview coming up tomorrow with Prakar Gupta of Sherwood. I hope you can make it 11 o'clock Central Time, Saturday, May the 11th. So I hope you can make it live to join us at 11 Central Time AM. Okay, so this is going to be a long video, so I'm going to have to go through each of these very quickly. This is going to be a top 197. Yes, 197. So I hope you've got your seatbelt on. Sit back. We're going to go quick through these. When I started to do these videos, I kind of shot myself in the foot, because originally I did them just as This Is Not a Top 10. It was unranked, and we just talked about a bunch of fragrances from my collection that had this note in them. Well, then I came back and started to rank them, and I thought it would be a good idea if I included in the rankings the ones I reviewed, okay, that I didn't have full bottles of. But if people send me a sample or something and I reviewed it, I figured it would be a good way to maybe market that video so people knew it was out there, and also, since there's a video for them to go watch, for people to watch, put it in the rankings. Well, doing that has completely screwed me over in so many of these videos. There's so many fragrances to discuss now. As my work ethic and channel has grown, this is making these lists harder and harder. The other thing is, this is going into unbelievable amounts of depth, okay? So someone the other day mentioned, okay, now we've gone 10,000 miles deep. Let's see if we can maybe focus on your top 10 at some point. So I said, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. After I finish the This Is Not a Top 10 series and go through all of these ingredients, I'll go back and maybe do just a top 10 favorites and include all fragrances, whether it's in the collection or not. Just any of my favorite, let's say Labdanum would be in that top 10. And so we'll come back and do that after these extremely deep, detailed videos. Okay, so some honorary mentions that I have decants of that you will not hear about in this video because I have not reviewed them, but there are decants and potential videos coming in the wings. Amouage DF40, Guidance, Lineage, and Material. Also Memoir Woman, which is right at the top of my woman's bottle wish list from Amouage. Argos, The Birth of Venus, and Dane. Arquise Poe, Boadicea the Victorious, Iceni, I think is how you pronounce that, or Iceni. There's a live stream on Boadicea the Victorious if you want to check that out. Carner, Black Calamus, and Queers, and Rose Dragon, which is an amazing house. Carner Barcelona is a house that deserves more love. Carvan's Monsieur Carvan from 1978. Thank you, Armando. Darren Allen, Fets de Noël, which there is a Darren Allen live stream on the channel. If you go through my live streams, you'll find it. Diptyques L'Autois, Dixit and Zach, Galia Reflection, Dolce & Gabbana The One Mysterious Night, Fragrance Du Bois, New York Intense, and Blue Oud Blue Intense and also Oud Violet Intense. There's a Fragrance du Bois live stream if you want to check that out as well. Francesca Bianchi, Byzantine Amber, Frederick Mall's The Dawn, Grossmith, Golden Chypre, Hiram Green's Hide, House of Matriarch Bittersweet Symphony, January Scent Projects, Atupe, which I've smelled, it's amazing, Javois, L'Art de la Guerre, and La Liturgie de Urs, and Juicebox Live and Loud. There's a Juicebox live stream as well. Maître Parfumé Gantier, Ambre Perso, and Eau de Ils, which Eau de Ils is absolutely fantastic. I want a bottle of that. Mar Olfactif, Sagan Dahlia, Mancera's Hindu Kush, Marc Antoine Bawa, B638, Eau de Parfum, Mask Milano, Love Kills Oud, and Mandala, Meleg, Civet Cat Chypre, Memos, La Lablia, Nila Vermeer, Bombay Bling, Olfactive Studios Panorama, MDCI La Elegant, Parfum de Marly Nissan, Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire, Penhaligon's As Siwara, and Pierre de Valle #1 and #9 in the Oud, that's that Roja spinoff, Prinz Loop, and Mariga, Cortana, Parfums Cortana, Lily of the Valley, Poppy Soma, and Venetian Belladonna. There's a live stream from the House of Parfums Cortana as well if you want to check that out. Rance 1795, La Agel de la Victorie, Rania's Ambre Loop. There's a Rania J live stream on the channel. Rogues, Oud Ancienne, and Roja's Burlington 1819, and Elysium Pour Homme Parfum, and Sweetie Oud, Sense of Wood, Oud and Bourbon, and Patchouli and Rye, and then Sherwood, Horizon, and Rosarium. There's now a Sherwood live stream from just last week if you want to check those two out. Strangelove's Falling into Stars, which is amazing. I got to talk more about the Strangelove set. Sultan Pasha's Chypre Narcisse, and Entrée du Guers, and Turath by Sultan Pasha. And then Towers, Cologne du Maghreb, and Golstan. And then Tom Ford's Bitter Peach, Zoologist Bee, Must Deer, Sacred Scarab, and Penguin. Okay, so that is all of the fragrances that have this Labdanum or Cistus note that are in samples that I have not discussed on the channel yet that you could hear about at some point in the future. Those are the honorary mentions. Okay, so let's get started. I did not dig out samples, so you're just going to have to go find the video if you want to hear more about it. But the first one, number 197, I hope my voice makes it. Astrophil and Stella Paris Cherie. I reviewed this. I absolutely despised it. It's a disgusting sweet take by Nathalie Feisthauer. Lots of vanilla, more vanilla than the Spanish Cistus Labdanum they say is in the base. But it was just unbelievably sweet and creamy, and this gourmand thing I did not care for. But go check out my review. Big letdown. In fact, I never tested anything else from the house after that one. Number 196 is a Lattafa fragrance, and this one's called Amir Al Oud Intense Oud. Now, as a Lattafa fragrance goes, I must say, you can do a lot worse than this. This is for 19 or 20 bucks. I mean, this is kind of by the fireplace like smell. If you like that sweet, caramelized, sugary feel, burnt sugar and oud, the Labdanum's in the heart. Amir Al Oud Intense Oud, hell of a name. If you're, I mean, most people who watch this aren't going to be into that, but number 195, one-man show, Gold Edition, which I did not like at all because there's almost like this, they're trying to do this thing where they take vintage perfume and make it slightly modern. And so it's like a sweet oriental with modern ambergris, like ambroxan-like feel. And they tried to make it kind of like slightly vintage, but also done in the modern way. Spicy from the old days, but sweet from the modern days. And it just doesn't do either doesn't do either very well, in my opinion. But One Man Show Gold Edition at number 195. Number 194 is a Givenchy, and this one's called Givenchy Pour Homme. So one thing I should say before we go any further, I am not ranking this as my favorite fragrance, okay? So number 1 is not my favorite. Number 197 is not my least favorite. I'm trying to rank the Labdanum or Cistus note in here. Very hard to do. Very subjective, okay? Not objective. This is not a science. This is an art form. You may smell this and say, man, this has the most Labdanum I've ever smelled. I disagree. I don't think there's very much. That's why it's towards the bottom, okay? So take that with a grain of salt when you check this out. If you see some of your favorites at the bottom of the list, don't be offended. I'm not saying that that's where they belong in a ranking of my personal favorites. I'm trying to rank the Labdanum note, okay? So number 194, Givenchy's Pour Homme, which is a creation from the early 2000s by Alberto Morillas and Ilias Hermendez. I mean, 2 all-star perfumers, but it's just a lot of fresh generic woody smells, fresh spicy woods basically, with some lavender and vetiver. There is labdanum in the base with cedar, but not very much. So that's why it is at number 194. Number 193 is a fragrance from the house of Heaven Duft, and it's called Firdaus Extreme. And I have not talked about this one on the channel very much. I am not the biggest fan of this house, I must admit, but I did learn that he sent me his, I guess he calls these like the, I don't know what to call it, the cheaper line. It's the line that isn't as expensive as the Pure Parfum, so he kind of sent me the more budget, the budget line, I think is a fair way to put it. So I'm curious as to what the Pure Parfum versions would have smelled like. This isn't bad. If you're into natural smelling green vetivers and florals, Firdaus Extreme may be one to check out at number 193. Okay, number 192, we've got Mancera's Tonka Cola, which I just recently reviewed. You can go check out my review. I did it off of a sample. And that was from one of the decanting service, amaruparis.fr, if you're interested in checking out decants, but very big dose of Tonka, not so much Labdanum, big sort of Tonka Imperial, just like a scratchy version of Tonka Imperial meets Dior's, whatever Dior's version of Tonka Imperial is, which is going to drive me crazy if I don't look. It is Feb Delicious. So think Dior's Feb Delicious meets Tonka Imperial in a disgustingly scratchy Mancera way. Not a fan at all. That is at number 192. Number 191 is Cigar Rum by Stranger's Perfumery. And I don't like this line. I think this is his like easier to wear line. Prin just can't seem to win with me because when he does crazy stuff like the one I reviewed yesterday, I don't like the way he does animalics. When he does boring stuff, I don't like the way he does the boring stuff. But there are a couple I've come to like. But this is like dried cherries and prunes and rum and tobacco. It's not bad. There's a kelp note in here. Believe it or not, I prefer to wear Nishane's. There is a Nishane that does something very similar, and there's just too many fragrances. I can't think what the Nishane is called. Now I gotta look. It's gonna drive me crazy. It is called Fan Your Flames. So Fan Your Flames by Nishane, I just think does that style better. There is a Labdanum Absolute in Cigar Rum. Okay, that's number 191. Number 190 is Versace's L'Homme. And you know what? I've got a modern bottle, so I would love to get a vintage bottle of this because Versace's L'Homme is, I love that almost pissy. I heard a few folks refer to it as like this men's restroom feel, citrusy take on like a animalic men's restroom, but it doesn't have that honey. It's not like Boss Number 1 pissy men's honey. It's like a citrusy pissy smell. Very bitter and old school with that sort of spicy green carnation, and the labdanum is in the base. So I would really like to smell the vintage version and just compare, because the new one's not bad. It's not bad at all. Yeah, I think it's still in production as well. So number 190 is Versace L'Homme. Number 189 is an Amouage. It's called Enclave. There's a review off of a sample on the channel. Enclave was very minty, spearmint, and lots of amber extreme. Saffiano, which is a sort of captive molecule, I think, that's supposed to be slightly leathery. Julian Rasquinet is the perfumer of that collection. I think Enclave is probably one of the better ones from that collection. I didn't really care for many of the others. I think in that collection came things like Meander, which was very boring, that kind of thing, right? So Enclave, I think, was one of the better. Oh, I think Crimson Rocks came in that collection too. I liked Crimson Rocks as well, but I haven't reviewed it on the channel, but I enjoyed it when I smelled it. So that was 189, Enclave. Number 188 is another decant. It's Richwood by Xerjoff. Again, there's a review on the channel. Richwood is probably one of the few Xerjoffs I would like a bottle of. I'd love a vintage bottle, actually. When they claim there was real Mysore sandalwood in there, I don't know if that's true or not, but I would love a bottle of that one day. I just think it's brilliant. I really enjoy the kind of Coromandel-like take by Xerjoff Richwood. The rose, labdanum, Coromandel feeling of the patchouli in the base. Jacques Flory is the perfumer. I think he's a good perfumer, so that's 188 Richwood. 187 is a discontinued Roja called Reckless Pour Homme. There's a review on the channel. This is a very good fragrance. It reminds me of Roja's take of Cloud Christian X for men. They did discontinue not just the eau de parfum, but the pure parfum as well. So the reason this is all the way down to 187 is because of the fact that it's a very light fragrance. Fragrance is usually with a lot of labdanum feels, very heavy. This doesn't have that. You know, the cistus is in the heart here. They probably should have put more labdanum or something in the base, but I like the fragrance. It's spicy, woody, you know, very professionally masculine. Go check out my review if you are interested in learning more about Reckless. Unfortunately, one of the Rojas that got the axe recently. So that is Reckless Pour Homme. I am literally surrounded by fragrance, by the way. You guys can't see it, but I'm like this, trying not to knock anything over. Okay, so Reckless Pour Homme 187. 186 is another discontinued Roja. It came out 11 years ago, and it's called Musk Oud. So Musk Oud, I've got a review on the channel. Probably my least favorite of the Oud collection that he did, the original Oud collection. It's a beautiful opening. The opening's not the problem. It's the dry down. The dry down could probably benefit from more Cistus or Labdanum. This has a little bit of ambrette with Oud in the base, which is beautiful, by the way. Ambrette gives that almost like boozy champagne-like sort of musky feel. It's a very expensive ingredient. And so the labdanum is in the base along with the musk and the ambrette and all that stuff. But go check out my review of Musk Oud if you are interested in learning more about that one. So that's number 186. 185 is a fragrance from the house of Salvatore Ferragamo, also discontinued, unfortunately. This was created by Olivier Polge before he became in-house perfumer at Chanel, and it's called F Black by Ferragamo. So I've got the little 30 ml bottle, which is more than enough for me. I actually really like this fragrance for a designer. It's like a spicy lavender. You can feel little touches of what he did with Dior Homme, with the tonka bean and stuff like that in the base. There's some coriander seeds, which add this dry spiciness to it, and labdanum. And so it is a little sweet. It's got that synthetic apple thing in the top, but I like it for what it is. A designer, I think it's good. So F Black at number 185. Number 184 is a fragrance from the house of Mar Olfactif, which is a house I have not talked very much about on the channel. I think he's just like a one-man shop out of St. Louis. And this one's called Waking Dream. This is crazy. I mean, if you go to Parfumo and look up Waking Dream, if you want to see maybe the most synthetic fragrance of all time, you see alpha ionones, benzyl acetate, clearwood, globanone, isoe super, cephalus, pyrrolone, sylvamber, tresolidone, hydroxymethylfurfural, ethyl vanillin. I mean, just on and on and on. The list of synthetics used in here is amazing. But you know, I'm thinking about, like, believe it or not, I'm thinking about like a crazy weird take on a mix between a fresh summery fragrance and an amber fragrance. I think this is supposed to evoke like some dream-like state, and hence Waking Dream. And Labdanum, and he claims Mysore Sandalwood. I don't know if that's real Mysore or just a Mysore Sandalwood Accord. I would love to have Sean Marr on the channel one day. I think that would be a cool interview. But Waking Dream, and there is Labdanum in here as well, at number 184. Number 183 is Dixit and Zach On Bar December edition. There's a review on the channel if you want to check it out. Actually not impressed with some of those recent Dixit and Zach reviews that I've done. They're very similar. They all have this weird tincture-like smell, resinous and spicy. There was a little fruit in here, blackcurrant, plum, and raspberry. And I liked the brown ambergris in the base, but it's just so, all of the fragrances from Dixit and Zach wear very thin, like a thin sheen, you know, like a very thin layer. I wish they were heavier. I wish it had more of the labdanum. And the labdanum is actually in the top in this fragrance, which is very strange. They probably could benefit from putting more labdanum in the base here. There is some myrrh and apoponax and stuff in the base, but it's just, even with the Chamamatul, Ambaratar, myrrh and apoponax, they wear very light. So that's Anbar December edition at 183. 182 is Tibetan Encens. I think I like that one a little bit better. There's a review on the channel from Tibetan Encens. And and that was silver fir, clove, labdanum, and birch tar and stuff like that in the base. Go check it out. It suffers from the same problems though, so only one spot higher at 182. 181 is another Heaven Duft fragrance, and actually this is my favorite I've smelled from this brand so far. This one's called Hajar-e-Aswad, which I'm not Muslim, but I learned a lot about the Muslim culture, sort of doing research for this particular fragrance. Apparently, when Muslims make their pilgrimage to Mecca, there is a stone that's placed in, I forgot what they call it, the Kaaba maybe, and they walk around the stone in their pilgrimage to Mecca. And that stone apparently is swiped with attars, and companies kind of bid on the right to make the particular attar, the scent of the stone, let's say, for that year. And royal officials swipe this stone with all kind of amazing attar smell. So when people touch it, they come away smelling like this is exactly what it's supposed to smell like, the stone. Very, very cool stuff. And this is probably one of my favorite. It's a rose, oud, and sort of saffron. So lots of saffron, lots of rose, lots of Indian oud, Assam oud smells, and there's some labdanum and myrrh and stuff like that in the base, but very good. I think he's probably used a lot of cypriol to create this scent, since this is, again, the more budget line, but I would love to smell the pure parfum of this with the higher end ingredients, but this is still very good. So Hajar-e-Aswad by Heaven Duft at number 181. Number 180 is a fragrance from the house of Sherwood, and I wish I could put this higher because Prakhar Gupta is coming on the channel, but this is all about the musk and less about the labdanum, so it has to be here. Number 180 is Chrysos. It could probably also benefit from some more labdanum. Chrysos is his newest release, which I believe already sold out, and you can see there's an actual musk pod that he put into my bottle, which I thought was very cool. He said, "There's a little gift for you, Ramsey. No one else has that." So this is all about musk. The musk opening is absolutely beautiful. And I did a live stream if you would like to kind of check out my thoughts. If you want to hear my thoughts on Chrysos, there's a Sherwood live stream. The labdanum is in the base along with some frankincense and orris and patchouli and tonka and cedar and all that stuff. And the spicy cardamom in the top mixes beautifully with the musk and cinnamon and clove and all that good stuff. So go check out my live stream, and I hope you can join our interview coming up tomorrow with Mr. Prakhar Gupta. So that's Chrysos. Number 179 is an Hermes. It is Rouge Hermes. And Rouge Hermes is very hard for me to wear. It is a huge, the way Eugene described it, is a floral with teeth. Like claws and teeth. And that's very true. The rose, ylang, iris is just like, I mean, it's one of those fragrances, every time I spray it, I get a headache. But there is beautiful labdanum and myrrh in the dry down. I enjoy that, but the top is very hard for me to wear. So 179 Hermes Rouge. 178 is a Clive Christian, and this is called 1872 for men. So it's this one right here, 1872. I reviewed number 1 for men recently, so if you're interested in a Clive Christian review, you can go check that out. But more Clive Christian reviews to come. But 1872 for men sort of plays that game of lots of fresh citruses in the top: lime, mandarin, grapefruit, petitgrain, bergamot, pineapple, peach, with a little bit of the heavier notes like galbanum and frankincense and labdanum. And it is a very green, fresh, great for spring and summer for men. You know, if you're into those traditional fresher scents, green, fresh scents, you'd really like 1872. High quality, but totally, I mean, overpriced by a price of 3 or 4 probably. But if you get it for a heck of a deal, it's not a bad summer scent if you don't mind reapplying. So 1872 for men, 178. 177's Uncut Gem by Frederick Malle. Again, this is a fragrance that made a lot of headlines in 2022 whenever it came out. Ginger, angelica root, and frankincense, and musk, and there is labdanum. I like the labdanum into the dry down. I don't hate this as much as some people did. I just think it was a little potentially boring, maybe overkill if you already have some of the other Malle fragrances that have some similarities. French Lover, for example, comes to mind because of the angelica root, but this is a little bit different, and this is supposed to be Maurice Roussel's sort of signature scent, his cologne. if you will, that he wore for himself for the longest time. That is the story, anyways, from Frederick Mullet, number 177. 176 is Eigner number 2, which actually has some similarities to Uncut Gem, but imagine like a vintage Uncut Gem, because Etienne Eigner number 2 uses fresher, spicy, fresh notes at the top. So you get like lavender, clary sage, bergamot, lemon. This is a take on a fougere, but in the base is some labdanum with the tonka and vanilla and all that stuff. Very wearable for the spring and summer. Very spicy, fresh, woody fragrance from the past. Very good stuff. Discontinued, unfortunately, but really good. I'll talk more about these Eigners as time goes on. So that is Etienne Eigner number 2 at number 176. 175 is another fragrance which has not gotten very much talk on the channel. This is from the house of Cacharel. It's called Nemo. Probably my favorite from the house, actually. Most people would think it would be Cacharel Pour L'Homme, but I'm not a big fan of that, although I have not smelled a vintage of Cacharel Pour L'Homme. This is discontinued. It was last marketed by L'Oreal. It came out in 1999. And it's weird, you know, for all of the Illuminati fans, the sort of advertisements has the guy like covering up one of his eyes with one of these, you know, like this. So very interesting stuff. But spicy, woody, very wearable, spicy, woody. If you like spicy fragrances, spicy masculine scents, this is definitely one to look into. Jean-Pierre Bithout is the perfumer. Cardamom, nutmeg, lavender, and the labdanum is in the heart. So good designer spicy fragrance from the past. 1999 does not seem that long ago, but it really was. So that's Nemo at number 175. 174 is another discontinued fragrance. This is Captain Molyneux. Somebody made a joke once that it is the French take on Captain America, and I've never been able to get that out of my mind. So Captain Molyneux is coming in at number 174. This has a little bit of this Paco Rabanne like fougere green spicy feel, but with some vetiver, lavender. There is the addition of Cistus here. I don't think Paco Rabanne Pour L'Homme has that Cistus labdanum, but there is the addition of Cistus with myrtle, Scots pine, Zanzibar clove, thyme, ginger. A beautiful fragrance, actually. Very, very underrated in my opinion. This will definitely get some love. And this is like, I don't know if you can tell, but this is like, there's a hole there. And so it goes straight into the bottle. So this is like a cover over the actual bottle underneath. So it's like a cover. So it makes the bottle look kind of shaded in green. How old school is that? But I love this stuff. Captain Molyneux from 1975 at number 174. Fuck, I'm going to despise writing all this stuff in the description for you guys. 173 is from the house of Amer Oud. This is called Oud Tabak. Just think Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford with an oud note and some labdanum. We need to hurry up. 173 is, 172 is a Prin fragrance. And it's called Anthamara, which I reviewed on the channel. If you want to laugh, check it out. I reviewed a Prin fragrance yesterday. If you want to laugh, go to my Prin playlist and just watch some of those. Anthamara is one of the most challenging fragrances I've ever smelled in my life. I'm not a big fan of the way Prin does animalics. Lots of hyraceum, castoreum, and frankincense, black tea, celery, just weird things mixed together. Spicy animalic note with pine tar and castoreum and labdanum. So anyways, go check out my review if you're interested in learning more about Anthamara at 172. 171 is a Serge Luton. Again, don't feel bad, Serge fans. This is Musk's Kublai Khan, which is probably one of the greatest musk fragrances ever created. It's just here because, well, obviously this is more about musk than labdanum. This is musk, castoreum, ambrette, beeswax, civet, ambergris, costus root, caraway, patchouli, rose, vanilla, and labdanum. Very animalic, spicy. It's just the labdanum isn't as prominent to me. More focusing on that animalic, spicy, musk-like smell at 171. 170 is a fragrance from the house of, well, I don't actually know whose house this is, but the name of the fragrance, it's called Rayanne Tradition, and it's called Insurrection 2. This is supposed to be a clone of the next fragrance on the list, which is Pure Havane by Amen. But for a clone, this is actually damn good. I almost consider this like a backup of Pure Havane. It's so close. Maybe there's very slight differences. Maybe there's a little more patchouli in one or a little sweeter in the other, but they're so close. I would not mind wearing this. If you're a fan of Pure Havane, This one is not bad if you can't find it anymore because it's discontinued. So that's number 170. 169 is Pure Havana. And so Pure Havana is Thierry Mugler's official take on the cherry tobacco, honeyed tobacco feel with that patchouli, that Amen line is so famous for. The note listing, according to Parfumo, says ambergris in the base, labdanum, and styrax. Who knows? But very good stuff. So that is at number 169. 168 is a Penhaligon's fragrance. Again, you don't hear very many of these on the channel. This is Halfeti Cedar. One of the few Penhaligon's fragrances I like. Although, I will say, it's not my favorite, but it's not bad. It's sort of this woody, spicy... There's a modern note of rum in here, which makes everything smell slightly modern, slightly similar once you get these modern boozy type fragrances, but it's rum and dried fruits and peach and saffron, and a strange mineral note. It's almost like the camels are walking across like a salt, like a old salt, I don't know what they call those, like a mineral deposit place in the desert, and you get this weird kind of after smell of salt. Halfeti Cedar is a strange one. It's not bad though. Marketed by Puig at number 168. 167 is a fragrance from the house of Roja, Dove, and this one's called Parfum de la Nuit number 3. There's a full review of all of these Parfum de la Nuit fragrances on my channel. Beautiful presentation in the magnetic box, me lord. So Parfum de la Nuit number 3 is probably one of my favorites from the house of Roja. You can check out my thoughts if you are interested. But it is bergamot, artemisia, cistus, may rose, amyris, cumin, frankincense. There's a little bit of this eau de Hermes feeling in the opening, and then it kind of goes in a completely different direction. I wore eau de Hermes yesterday as my scent of the day, and holy fuck, that stuff is one of the greatest fragrances ever created. Parfum de la Nuit number 3 does not live up to eau de Hermes, but it is damn good at number 167. 166 is a Prada fragrance. It is Prada Amber Porom. And someone was saying that now they're making these in the UK, so if you can get the made in Spain version, do it. I don't know. I've never smelled the made in UK version. I just don't trust L'Oreal. Sorry. Is it L'Oreal now or is it Puig? I don't know. But I think it's L'Oreal. It is L'Oreal. So cardamom, neroli, bergamot, mandarin orange, musk orange blossom, myrrh, vetiver, labdanum in the base with some patchouli and saffron. Rich Mitch has the perfect saying of this. He says, this is a fragrance created for men by women. This is what a woman thinks a man should smell like. Damn it, he is pretty much spot on. I mean, there's a freshness to it, there's a powderiness to it, there's a soapiness to it, but there's also a little bit of depth because of the labdanum, myrrh, vanilla, vetiver, leather, patchouli, all that good stuff. So fantastic fragrance. I need to review one day. 165 is a Roja. It is called Roja's H, the Exclusive Oud. This is now discontinued, but I do have a review for those of you who like hunting down weird and strange things and hard to find things. Yeah, probably a lot of cypriol in this, although they call it oud. Probably a lot of cypriol is my guess. There's an oregano note in here, which is interesting because this came out only a year or two after Interlude Man, so I'm sure Roja was very closely taking notes to what was very popular. Cypriol, oud, patchouli, valerian root, guardium, balsam, nutmeg, birch, labdanum in the base. So that is H, the Exclusive Oud at number 165. 164, you'll have to excuse me. Some of these I'm going to have to turn around on, mostly because I don't have any more space around me. This is Figment Man. Figment Man is an Anique Monardo masterpiece. No one talks about. I will review this one day, but God, it's such a hard fragrance to pin down. Animalic, earthy, almost like a throwback to Koros, but a modern take on Koros. There's earthy notes, very soily, like an earthworm, like putting your hand in the soil. It's very artistic fragrance. And there's Gaiac wood and labdanum in the base. So that is Figment Man at number 164. Number 163 is a fragrance from the house of Borsalino. This is also discontinued, but again, for you vintage hunters, go, go, go. This is Borsalino by Borsalino. They were a company that very famously made hats. So this is supposed to be like a hat. And this is a very wearable take on like an Italian fougere. Okay, but almost like a Italian leathery fougere, if that makes sense. So the base is leathery Labdanum mossy, very fresh, very easily wearable. Clary sage and Labdanum, beautiful fragrance. Okay, doesn't last very long on me though. I usually reapply every 4 or 5 hours when I wear that, but I enjoy it. Borsalino at number 163. 162 is a Rochas fragrance, and this is called Globe. Now, Globe is another kind of overlooked blast from the past. I don't know who the perfumer is according to Parfumo, although people have told me Jean-Claude Elena. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's bergamot, caraway, coriander, lemon, tarragon, fir, jasmine, rose, carnation, geranium. Remember, in the 90s, amber fougères were kind of a thing. This is kind of a take on an amber fougere. Leathery, cedar, labdanum in the base, patchouli. I love this stuff. It's really, really good. Really wearable as well. So Rochas Globe will definitely be getting some talk on the channel at number 162. 161 is a decant review off of Roja's Oceania, which I really expected Oceania to be more like Creed Zeralfa. It wasn't. It was kind of like a green petrichor aquatic floral thing. Lots of florals, and more florals than you would think. Jasmine, violet, ylang, geranium, and Roja used that Litsea cubiba note that kind of brings the citruses down into the base further. There's juniper berries, moss, musk, and labdanum and galbanum in the base. Actually, a really beautiful fragrance. I would not mind. I would not mind owning a bottle of Oceania if money was no issue, but it is an issue. So that is at number 161. Number 160 is from the house of Jope, and this is called What About Adam? Again, discontinued. One of my favorite tomato leaf fragrances, or tomato if you want to be a normal Texan. What About Adam is a beautiful bitter green, viney sort of tomato-like smell, tomato leaf-like smell, and it's got some mint in the top, blackcurrant, vanilla, vetiver, labdanum, and oak moss in the base. Also some very clean lavender. Think of the lavender in like Dolce & Gabbana by Man, that very smooth lavender from the 90s. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I love the lavender from the 90s, by the way. Khalees Becker is the perfumer. One of her better fragrances. Too bad it's discontinued, but can still be had for a respectable price. What About Adam at number 160. Number 159 is a Sense of Wood fragrance. This one's called Plum and Cognac. Thank you, Rachel, for this very kind gift. Plum and Cognac is kind of their hype beast, and it's almost like their take on a tobacco vanille-like smell, but with this old sort of, think of the tannins in a oak barrel when cognac gets sort of, when it gets distilled, okay? So there's rum absolute in here, there's cognac, there's cinnamon, Peru balsam, there's a plum note in here, which is pretty prominent, and there's Cistus and Immortelle. And also osmanthus. Osmanthus plays a big role in here with its sort of fruity, leathery feel. Spicy, woody, sweet, but well done. 159, Plum and Cognac. 158 is a decant review from the house of Aton, which is Russian Adam's stepbrother, if I'm saying that correctly. His name is Anton, but his house's name is Aton. I've reviewed a couple from the house. My favorite is this one. It's called Roxbury. Roxbury is kind of a aged patchouli, if you will. Okay, so it's aged Indian patchouli for like 20 plus years or something, 20 or 30 years, I forget, in like a camel saddle bag, they said, I forget, but tobacco, vanilla, labdanum, oak moss, blackcurrant, oud. I liked Roxbury a lot. If I was going to own one from the house, it would be Roxbury. So that is number 158. Number 157 is a MFK. It's called Grand Soir. I actually had 3 of these. I gave one to one of my good friends as kind of a gift for letting me use some of his fragrances as review. And so this is Grand Soir. So I still have a couple of them left. And Grand Soir is, I don't know what it is. It's a boring amber is what it is. Inside of this amber makeup, Maison Francis Kirkjohn used Spanish labdanum in this makeup, but it's a very sort of resinous, boring amber take in my opinion. I'll review it one of these days, but I really do think that Absolute Pour le Soir is a million times better, at least much more interesting for the hardcore frag heads. Maybe for people that just wear perfume as like a, you know, it's just something you spray on to smell good and you're not breaking it down and doing what we're doing here, then maybe you'll like Grand Soir. For me, it's just a boring amber. at number 157. 156 is a discontinued designer that I absolutely love. I'm sad it's discontinued. It's called Versace Man. This will definitely get a discontinued gem review on the channel one day. Versace Man came out in 2003, and it's got angelica, black pepper, bergamot, neroli, saffron, cardamom, amber, cashmere wood, tobacco, and labdanum, or as the back of this tester says, living tobacco leaves and labdanum cysts, which sounds like something you should go to your doctor for. So Versace Man is a really well done designer back when they used to know how to make a designer, which was only 20 years ago. The fragrance industry has since crashed into the side of the mountain, but that's number 156. 155 is a decant review. It's called Roja's Herod's Porom. I have to apologize for all the Rojas on here. If you're not familiar, Roja's favorite ingredient is labdanum. And I can't blame him. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful ingredients, and if I was doing what he's doing, I would probably do the exact same thing. Maybe not in the hideously gaudy bottles, but I'd be doing the same thing with the labdanum. He's doing he's doing the way I like perfume to be made. So there is labdanum in the base of this. Go watch my review of Herod's Porom if you want to learn a little bit more about it. It also has that, let's say, a Cubiba note that extends the citruses down. Very classy take, Herod's Porom. 155. 154 is Oscar de la Renta Gentleman, which is right. Oh, God, please don't break something. Here we go, Gentleman. Okay, so this is sort of bottle is in commemoration of Oscar de la Renta. This is after he passed away. They created this bottle, and some people thought this was tacky. I don't. I actually really like this bottle. Domino's was his thing. I think this is a beautiful designer. It's got champagne, it's got grapefruit, cardamom, rosemary, black tea, Haitian vetiver, labdanum, and amber in the base. I think this is so underrated. Fresh, spicy, a well-done designer. Inter Parfums is the distributor. They usually do good stuff. But yeah, I need to talk about this on the channel more. It is heavily overlooked at number 154. Man, my voice is already like, fuck you, Ramsey. 153, Spirit of Dubai's Rimal, which I reviewed all of the first generation Spirit of Dubai's. You can check out my review on the channel. Just search Spirit of Dubai Ramsey or something, you'll find it. Or just type Spirit of Dubai Rimal if you want this exact one, you'll find it. And Rimal is a oriental take with lots of fruity notes, sweet notes, patchouli, caramels, labdanums, leathers, ouds. I liked it, but it was probably one of my least favorite from this particular first edition, if you will. So Rimal comes in at number 153. 152, back to the House of Roja. This is called O, the Exclusive Parfum. This is discontinued, unfortunately, although it smells very similar to H, the Exclusive Parfum. I've got reviews of both on the channel if you want to check it out. Roja's O, the Exclusive Parfum really reminded me a little bit of an early iteration of Frederic Mall's The Moon, which is crazy because when I smelled this, I thought he ripped off Frederic Mall's The Moon. And then I looked at the date and I was like, wait a minute, this came first, which is unbelievable. Usually something else comes first, then a Roja comes out. But that raspberry, oud, saffron, leather thing definitely gives that sort of, that hookah-like feel that the Moon gives you. There's ambergris in the base with cypriol and labdanum and musk and oak moss and all this stuff. But go watch my review if you are interested in learning more about O, the Exclusive Parfum. Number 151 is a fragrance from the House of Beaufort. They make insane fragrances, by the way, that I need to explore more from this house. This one's called Tonnerre. And Beaufort. They used to call this 1805. So they changed the name from 1805 to Tonnerre for whatever reason. This has notes of blood, gunpowder, brandy, spindrift, grapefruit, woods, lime, atlas cedar, birch, cistus, fir balsam, and amber. So if Iron Duke wasn't crazy enough for you, you could go for Tonnerre. This is much more smoky, bloody, and gunpowdery than Iron Duke. If you thought Iron Duke was too tame, do I have a solution for you? Tonnerre. Okay, number 150 is back to the House of Roja, back to a decant review. It's called Roja 51 Pour Homme. I really liked Roja 51 Pour Homme, but it was kind of like Roja's take on, Portrait of a Lady or something, like a rose, sort of patchouli, with some additions of leather and oud and stuff like that, ambrette. There's some labdanum in the base. Go check out my review. It's good stuff. Again, if money was no issue, I'd own a bottle, but I think Eugene's Labdanum, which is much higher on the list, does it better. Anyways, so next on the list we have number 149. This is a Lalique, and it's called Hommage à l'Homme. Again, a very good designer from 2011. Hommage à l'Homme is sort of a spicy, woody take. The violet leaf in the top adds this sort of freshness. So it is slightly smoky underneath. There's some pimento leaf and violet. Beautiful. So there's violet and violet leaf. And there's cistus and oud and musk. The musk makes it feel a little bit fluffy and fresh. It's like a designer take on a fresh oud, but it's very well done for Lalique. I think this is still available. I don't know. I actually have a soap that I got with this bottle. I paid like $30 for the soap and the 100 ml, which is unbelievable value. But Christine Nagel and Mathilde Bijou made that. Sorry for butchering her name, Mathilde. Number 148 is a Pasha fragrance. This is Pasha de Cartier Eau de Toilette, one of the classy fougères from the past. Pasha de Cartier Eau de Toilette, sort of claim to fame, if you will, is a little bit of this mint note in the top. So it's mint, sort of the cedar sandalwood thing with Brazilian rosewood. It's woody, and it's got some labdanum, of course, in the dry down, but spicy, woody, very gentlemanly, brilliant stuff. And I guess this is supposed to be like a watch dial. So Pasha de Cartier Eau de Toilette from 1992, still in existence today, still going strong, an all-time classic at number 148. Number 147 is a fragrance from the house of 4160 Tuesdays, which is just a stupid-ass name in my opinion. But this one's called Shazam. And Shazam caught my attention because Shazam is a patchouli. It's like a chocolatey patchouli done in a fresh manner, okay? So you know how most chocolatey patchoulis are heavy as hell, and that's usually how I like my patchouli. This is like a resinous patchouli, but with like a freshness added, okay? So there's some orange juice, literally that's what it says, orange juice, and tangerine. There's a little bit of cacao absolute, but the cacao just makes it feel slightly chocolatey. Like imagine you're eating like a light chocolate, like a milk chocolate, like a fresh milk chocolate, and there's some other fresh notes. Even though it's labdanum and patchouli, there's other fresh notes in here. Very interesting stuff at number 147. 146 is a fragrance from the house of Bogner. It's called Deep Forest. I really need to explore more from this house. I know Bogner has a fragrance called Man from the 80s. I need a bottle of, not one, I need a bottle of it. And this is from the Fragrance Factory, in case anyone still wants to call an 800 number. But this is called Deep Forest. My God, man, it's like a 90s take on that polo green like feel. Deep Forest is amazing. It's got in here, it's got some bergamot, neroli, rosemary. The rosemary adds to that oiliness, a little bit of throwback to the Paco Rabanne feel of the rosemary in here because of the lavender and the oak moss in the base. But the difference is this adds some cinnamon, and I think it took some cues from, you know, at the time there was a lot of cinnamon going on in the early 90s. So you think about things like Balenciaga Pour Homme and stuff like that, like you know, the cinnamon patchouli in here. There's definitely cues taken from what was going on in the 90s, and the labdanum is in the base. So Deep Forest will definitely get a vintage gem, discontinued gem review one of these days. So thank you to the person who very kindly sent me that. That's Bogner's Deep Forest. Number 145 is a Jacques Bogart fragrance. This is called One Man Show. Showing the modern is not fair. I should have went to the lock and key and unlocked and got the proper vintage of One Man Show, because this is maybe the worst reformulation Jacques Bogart ever did. It lost all of its like animalic bits in the base. The vintage One Man Show is unbelievable. Sort of spicy green take on leather. There's some galbanum in the top and Brazilian rosewood, which I love. And there's cistus and labdanum in the base. But there's also supposed to be this castoreum-like leathery smell, which is missing from here. It turns into more of an easy-to-wear old-school green fragrance, whereas the vintage is like a much harder to wear, punch you in the face, knockout, drag down, sort of leathery castoreum animalic wear, which is missing in the newer version. So 145, Jacques Bogart, One Man Show. 144 is a diptyque, and this is called Oud Palau. So obviously to create that oud accord in Oud Palau, they probably used a lot of sort of patchouli. They say that there is Laotian oud in here, which, you know, if they say it's real, it's real. I don't know if they claim it's real or not, but there is definitely a Laotian oud accord, if you will. It smells very similar to the type of oud you would smell in a Dior Privé or something like that, with some Bulgarian rose, Somalian frankincense, Nagamata, which is Cypriol, Indonesian patchouli, Ceylonese sandalwood, Spanish cistus, and bourbon vanilla. I actually really like this. Like if you said, "Hey Ramsey, I got $100 and I just want a wearable oud fragrance that is, I don't want to buy the high-end Russian Atom or a Riche Ladore creation or Ensar oud. I just want to buy like an easy to find fragrance that I can wear and it's an oud." That is not a bad one to go for. Oud Palau is very, very well done. At number 144. 143 is a YSL. This is called M7 Oud Absolute. I still love M7 even to this day. Even with all of the stuff I know about oud, I still love M7. And this version basically adds a sort of Cistus, Labdanum, myrrh. I don't think there was any myrrh listed in the original one. And what they say are mineral notes, which is interesting. But I still love this stuff. Even this is a very good reformulation from YSL. And it's still available from my understanding. You just have to ask. I think they keep it hidden. So M7 Oud Absolute at number 143. Number 142 is a decant review from Roja called Taif Oud. It was originally called Fortnum and Mason Taif Oud. Obviously, the contract expired with Fortnum and Mason. Now it's just called Roja's Taif Oud. And it's like this aldehydic cypriol, huge cypriol opening. It gives that earthy, oudiness with some blackcurrant, oud, frankincense, musk, patchouli, benzoin, labdanum, and vanilla in the base. It's not that it's a bad fragrance. It's just for what they were asking, I think you could do way better. But that's number 142. 141 is a fragrance from the house of Mayo Fuscioni, who I'm actually a really big fan of his work. Somehow he makes all of his fragrances, even this, which uses things like coffee and earthy notes and, challenging notes. He makes them so, excuse me, sorry to do that in your nose, but in your face, or in your ear. He makes all of his fragrances so relatable. You know what I mean? Like he's making it for you. When I smell his fragrances, I'm like, fuck it. I mean, it has all these heavy notes, but there's something just so likable about it. And this is one of my favorite coffee fragrances that I've been kind of testing and wearing lately. This is an amazing coffee fragrance. Smoky, earthy. The Tobacco Absolute is beautiful in the base. There's a little bit of civet, but it's not super challenging. And there's a beautiful Labdanum Absolute in the base, but it doesn't wear super heavy is the thing. But the clarity of the fragrance is beautiful. There is such a clarity to his fragrance and such a, like every step, how some fragrances you smell, it feels like they're like putting their step, waiting for the floor to fall out. This guy is like walking calm, confidently, and it just feels like he knows exactly where he's going. So I'm a fan. Need to smell more from the house, but so much to smell. So 141 is Little Song. 140 is a Parfum d'Empire fragrance. This is called Musk Tonkin. So Musk Tonkin is probably one of the better, I would say, like musks of this caliber, right? So you're not going to the Ensars or the Arige and getting real musk. You're getting something like this. This is probably one of the best takes on a musk without using like a real musk pod, like in Chrysos, for example, right? So this is muscanone, hyraceum, tuberose, cistus rose, frankincense, myrrh, and sandalwood. This particular version, although apparently someone corrected me and said, Ramsey, this is not the vintage. This is just the Eau de Parfum version, which has been discontinued. So the Eau de Parfum version is discontinued. The Extrait version is still available to purchase, okay? So the Extrait is still available. The Eau de Parfum is discontinued, but that's not the vintage. The vintage has a different looking it has a different looking label, okay? So it's like a black label with the Parfum d'Empire logo beneath the name. So I stand corrected. Okay, next on the list we have number 139, and it is called Victor and Rolf Antidote. And I'll tell you what, Antidote is one of those designer fragrances that just never got the love it deserved because it was so complex and it did so many things, and I think people just wrote it off. So some people smelled this and they were like, man, this is a spicy sort of fresh fragrance, or they would get the bergamot or the grapefruit or the cardamom, or they would get the sort of traditional manly aspect of the lavender. or the freshness of the orange blossom, or the floral aspect of the violet and geranium and freesia. Or they would get kind of the vanillic aspect of the dry down and say it's sweet, and there is a sweetness to it. Or they would get the beautiful iris and call it an iris, or the woods and call it a wood, or leather, and there is leather in this as well. There's also labdanum into the dry down. So I don't know how you characterize this, because for a designer, this goes in so many places, and I really do think this is like a designer masterpiece that just got passed by the fragrance world. Came out in 2006, a weird time, like a transition time, before Aventus, but after the turn of the century, and I don't know, but I'll tell you this, Pierre Wargnai made this, and he is an all-star master perfumer. He did some of my absolute all-time favorite scents: Drakkar Noir, Boss Number 1, Tenere by Paco Rabanne. So when he does stuff, I pay attention, and this is one you should pay attention to as well. Antidote at number 139. Number 138 is a Bogway fragrance. It's called Mem. I'm coming around to these Bogways slowly but surely. I don't hate it as much as I used to. It's an animalic floral with civet and castoreum and a bunch of lavender, a ton of herbal, minty, sort of mentholated smelling lavender. Man, I'm going to have to get a cough drop. My throat is not having it. Himalayan cedar, Indian sandalwood, laurels or bay leaf, ambergris, damask rose, aldehydes, and labdanum. So we'll talk more about the House of Bogway as time goes on. Number 137 is a vintage fragrance very few people talk about. This is Missione Uomo. This is a very good, leathery, old school masculine scent that has this spicy aspect of which I've never smelled a combination like this. IFF is listed as the perfumer, so I don't know who actually made this, but there's ambergris in the base, there's cistus in the base, and if you like old school spicy leathery fragrances from the mid 80s, check that one out. That one's from 1983. We got to get a move on it. So even as though I've been getting a move on it, we got to get a move on it. So number 136 is Roja's UAE, United Arab Emirates. There's a review from a decant on the channel. You can check it out. I'd love a bottle of that one day. Artemisia, blackcurrant bud, clove, oud, labdanum in the base. I remember there being this like gasoline-like smell in the opening with a very leathery sort of earthy oud. Lots of cypriol again, but very well done. That was one of the Middle Eastern lines that I really enjoyed. At number 136, United Arab Emirates. 135 is Roja's Scandal Pour Homme, which I've reviewed this. This is what his original bottles used to look like before all the bedazzle and all that shit happened. He still had the gold on the side, so bravo. But Scandal Pour Homme is so good. It's like his take on a proper old school fougere. So think about things like think about YSL. Well, it's not a fair description, but because I'm going to say some things which are not necessarily fougères, but think of things like YSL Pour Homme or Chanel Pour Monsieur, the original Eau de Toilette, which I know is a Chypre, but just imagine you took that Chypre construction and made it smell like more of a fougere and then rogeted it up. That's kind of how this smells, like a spicy fougere. But the green notes in the, again, speaking of clarity, man, the basil, the lemons, it's so fresh and beautiful. And I have to give him a shout out on this. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic stuff. And I've smelled the Parfum version and I've smelled the Parfum Cologne. And to me, they don't compare. Maybe because this has a lot of air in the bottle, but this is amazing stuff. The vintage Eau de Parfum of Scandal Pour Homme at, and there's a beautiful rhubarb note in there. There's labdanum, of course, in the base at number 135. 134 is an Opus fragrance, which I reviewed off of a sample. Go check it out. I've reviewed Opus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the channel now, I think. Yeah, Opus 7 has been reviewed. I don't have 8, though. That's the thing. 8 is holding me back from moving on. I don't think I have 8, but I do have 9. I've got a bottle of 9. So if I get 8, I can do 9, I can do 10, I can do 11. 8's the holdup. But, so Opus 4, I really, really liked. You can go check out my review, but that was the one... that was the one that I don't have it up here. Let's see which one was that? That was Opus 4. I clicked the wrong one is what it was. So Opus 4 was the one created by Jacques Flory. That's right. Because this is the one that had a lot of ingredients and notes that reminded me of other Amouages at the time, like a little bit of Amouage Gold, The cumin reminded me a little bit of some of the other stuff that came later on. Peru balsam and frankincense and labdanum in the base and violet leaf and elemi and all this stuff. So check out my review of Opus 4. Really good stuff. I would love a bottle of 3 and 4 one day, but good luck. I think they're discontinued as well, but I'm not sure. Number 133 is a Roja, and it is Chypre Extraordinaire. So Chypre Extraordinaire, I've got a review on the channel. Honestly, I was not impressed. I think this is the one that was $1,750 that they just slashed the price by $1,000 to like $750 or something. Imagine being one of the persons that paid $1,750 and then all of a sudden now it's $750. Chypre Extraordinaire is this aldehydic floral Chypre. Lots of florals, lots of aldehydes. They say there's cumin. There's not enough cumin. They say there's civet. There's not enough civet for me. I would wear Diaghilev any day of the week over this. But, you know, on a power woman, let's say, walking into the office and she's the boss, fuck, this would smell sexy as hell. It's got leathery touches in the dry down. And Labdanum, of course, is in the... Labdanum is... Oh, it's Cistus. It's not Labdanum. Cistus. I was like, where's Labdanum? Cistus is in the heart. Okay. So that's Chypre Extraordinaire at 133. 132 is a sample review from the House of Zoologists. It's called Civet. Shelley Waddington is the perfumer. That is my favorite fragrance from her that I've smelled. Civet is an absolute masterpiece, old school Chypre construction. Beautiful coffee note in there. Just an amazing fragrance. I actually think it's better than Chypre Extraordinaire for a tenth of the price or whatever the hell it is. But Civet, go watch my review. It's brilliant. Number 132. Number 131 is a Darren Allen, and it's also kind of in the same vein as those last two I showed. This is called Chypre Number 1. So Chypre Number 1 is, you can see I've given this a good amount of wear. Rachel very kindly sent this to me. Chypre Number 1. Oh, it's so good. I love these type of Chypres that just incorporate all of these sort of aspects. And, you know, it's like a diversified smell. Everything is... there's so many layers, so much to smell between the musk, the civet, the patchouli, the sandalwood, the ambergris, the florals, the Amalfi lemon, bergamot, and orange, and then there's the Labdanum Absolute in the base. Absolutely beautiful. One of my favorites from Darren Allen. I will review this one of these days, so it's all about time is really the thing. It's all about time. So Chypre Number 1 at 131. Number 130 is Dia Man by Amouage, and thank God I've got a backup of this. Dia, I think, is a good example of what Labdanum can really do in a fragrance because it starts out really calm and soft. It's got peony, which if Bertrand Duchefort used more, it would blot out the peony, which is a very soft-smelling flower. You really have to get on the flower to smell it. And some plum blossoms, and the Labdanum comes in the top of the fragrance, so it adds a little bit of that depth, but it still keeps it soft. I think if he would have done Cistus or Labdanum in the base, it would have been heavier and blotted out that peony-like smell. But Dia Man is an absolute masterpiece. I will review it one of these days. One of the Amouage I have not reviewed yet. So Dia Man at number 130. Number 129 is a Frederic Malle. This is called Promise. One of my favorite Frederic Malles. Promise is just a bomb. My God, I love this stuff. Every time I smell it, I swear... Can't even talk. Every time I smell it, I just want to wear the damn thing. Promise is so huge. One of my favorite Frederic Malles ever. It's got that apple, which is one of my favorite executions of apple in here with Turkish Rose Absolute, Bulgarian Rose, Clove, Cypriol, Labdanum, Patchouli, and Ambroxan in the base. The Ambroxan really gives it that throw, but I love this stuff so much. And you know, for a fragrance that doesn't have oud, it really has that Middle Eastern feel. So that's why it's the cheapest from the Desert Gems collection, number 129. Number 128 is a Lolita Lampica fragrance. This is called Eau Masculine. Again, back when houses knew how to make designer fragrances. Eau Masculine is one of my favorite licorice-like fragrances. Anise, licorice smell with absinthe and ivy. It's green. It's slightly boozy because of the rum. It's beautiful in the fall, by the way. Vanilla, tonka bean, cedar, and cistus. Absolutely stunning fragrance by the house of Lolita Lampica at number 128. 127 is a Francesca Bianchi. It's my only full bottle. It's called Etruscan Water. It has that Francesca Bianchi DNA. Go watch my Francesca Bianchi playlist and you'll know exactly what I mean by the time you've watched a couple videos. And so, but this is sort of her take on a Chypre. So I think there's like some Immortelle and Labdanum and stuff like that in here. Mosses, but imagine like a fresh Etruscan take on a Chypre. I'll review it one of these days, but I've been holding off. So number 126 is a decant review. It's called Maidon from the first Spirit of Dubai playlist that I did. And Maidon was their leather. I was actually disappointed in the fragrance itself. I expected the leather accord to be better done, although the Oriental Labdanum Tolu Balsam resinous base is very, very nice. So go check out my thoughts on Maidon. I got to speed this up and stop saying I have to speed it up and actually speed it up. So number 125 is Lagerfeld's KL. So Lagerfeld's KL won all kinds of awards when it came out in the early 80s. Such a beautiful fragrance. It took Lagerfeld, what Karl Lagerfeld did with Lagerfeld Ferment, or what turned into Lagerfeld Classic, and ran with it with this women's fragrance, spicy Oriental. It obviously took bits from Opium as well, and I think JHL maybe came out already before this, but it's in that range. It's so beautiful. I mean, man, if you like Obsession by Calvin Klein, the men or women's version, and you never smelled KL, I would urge you to smell KL. It's this aldehydic, huge floral, Oriental, Labdanum and styrax and benzoins and a little bit of civet. But I love wearing these type of fragrances. So KL is beautiful at number 125. That'll definitely get a Hall of Fame review. I think that's definitely a Hall of Fame review. At 125. 124 is a sample review. I would love a bottle of this one day. It's called Chypre Mousse by Ariza El Legrand, like a resurrected house from the past. Chypre Mousse is absolutely stunning. It's almost like a sort of earthy Chypre, like a mushroomy Chypre with pine and leather and roasted chestnuts and like being in the forest. Beautiful though. Has this sort of fennel-like smell with some mastic, which is like a very sticky smell, angelica and violet leaf and labdanum and balsams in the base. Such a beautiful fragrance. That is definitely full bottle worthy. Maybe one of the best value for money brands I've come across in a long, long time. Like if you have to watch your dollars but you want amazing perfume, you cannot go wrong with Ariza El Legrand. 124 is Chypre Mousse. 123 is a discontinued fragrance from the house of Pierre Cardin, and this is called Blue Marine. You would think this is an aquatic, and you would be wrong. It is not an aquatic. It is more of like a citrusy, woody, maybe slightly fougere take, but with like spruce and mugwort and all of these different green notes. There's basil, and it dries down to this amazing mossy, leathery, sprightly ambergris. Ambergris in here feels so sparkly and fresh. So maybe that's where people think it has an aquatic smell. But if it is, this is like one of the earliest aquatics when they were very, very carefully dosing the aquatic notes. So I don't get very much aquatics, even though it's called Blue Marine. I think it's just more of a naming convention than a proper aquatic. That's 1986. And Martine Gross and Raymond Chaillan were the perfumers, two all-star perfumés at number 123. Number 122 is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. This is Amouage Jubilation 25. You could also put Jubilation 40 here. I wasn't going to split them up, but there is a Jubilation 25 versus Jubilation 40 comparison video on the channel if you would like to check this out. I mean, what do you have to say about Jubilation? It's blackberry, one of the best blackberry fragrances of all time. Frankincense, smoky, honeyed, like oud smell into the dry down with the Papanax, mosses, patchouli, immortelle, musk, myrrh, and labdanum. And the labdanum is in the top. Again, a very similar trick to what Bertrand Duchaufour did when he created Diamant. But go check out my comparison video if you're interested in learning about the differences between Jubilation and Jubilation 40. Okay, so that is number 122. Number 121 is a decant review off of a Beaufort fragrance. It's called Rake and Ruin, and I absolutely loved Rake and Ruin. Rake and Ruin was like this insane, like you're traveling on a ship across the ocean when the United States was only 13 colonies or something. It's like old, wet cardboard and biscuits and just smoke and gun smoke and just crazy. Like someone shot the cannon off of the ship, and I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely nuts. And there's all these little animalic notes and green notes and woody notes, and it's go watch my review. It's one of the craziest. Beaufort's one of the most artistic houses. Like if you're pissed off Amouage is going mainstream, check out the House of Beaufort. You will not be disappointed. It may be too much for you, but you won't be disappointed. So next on the list, we have number 120. It's from the House of Spirit of Dubai. It's actually the second collection. This is the first one, so it's a second collection. A couple folks sent me some decants, and the quality is a step up as well. The price is also a step up, though. But this one's called Abjar. And Abjar is actually like the sequel to... Abjar is like the sequel to Medan, and I liked Abjar more. I thought Abjar was what Medan was going to be. It's a better take on that leathery oriental-like smell. There's all kind of things in here. I mean, the list is like this long. You know, if you just look it up and read the notes yourself. But the Labdanum is in the heart of this fragrance, and there's all kind of things in here. It's an amazing. I would love a bottle, but I'm not going to pay $1,200. But it's good stuff. Abjar at number 120. Number 119 is a sample review from the house of Dmitry Bortnikov, and it's called Klassika. It almost smells like Bortnikov does, like a Russian leather type smell with some bergamot, but fresher notes. So imagine like a fresher Russian leather smell, incorporating like that powdery 80s ambery like smell into the Russian leather. So some beautiful sandalwood and iris and birch tar and castoreum and labdanum in the base. But go watch my review of Klassika if you're interested in learning more. Number 118 is a Serge Lutens fragrance, and this one is called Vetiver Oriental. I wore this for the first time within the last month. I am in love, absolutely in love with this fragrance. Oh my God, what a fragrance this is. I mean, fuck me. Now I've got the Palais Royale bottle, so some people were telling me the new version of Vetiver Oriental is more ambery, and that this is more sort of Vetiver Oriental is more like chocolatey vetiver, whereas the newer version smells more ambery. But the labdanum, the patchouli, my God, there's like this, it's almost like a gasoline smelling labdanum with that green earthy vetiver, and they always say plant juice when Serge Lutens fragrances come out in Parfumo. I don't know if that's true or not, but underwood, beautiful stuff. But chocolatey. Imagine like you took the patchouli from Borneo 1834 and you mixed it with this chocolatey vetiver. I am absolutely in love with this stuff. So yeah, you'll be hearing more about Vetiver Oriental on the channel for sure at number 118. Number 117 is a decant review called Oud Sinaharaja by the House of Bortnikov. You can go check out my 2 cents on Oud Sinaharaja. It was like that classic Bortnikov cardamom with frangipani and jasmine and magnolia. This is like the classic Bortnikov scent with some stinky Indian oud, some labdanum, and some Philippine oud, and Sri Lankan oud, and cedar. I really enjoyed Oud Sinaharaja. Came out in 2020. It's got that floral Bortnikov twist at number 117. Number 116 is a fragrance from the House of Sherwood, and it is called Gentleman. I labeled it because his don't have a label on the front. I didn't want to open it up in the spirit of time, but go watch my review of Gentleman, one of my favorite green tea fragrances of all time. And again, he will be on the channel tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time in the morning. Live stream. Join us with questions. I'd love for you all to be there. So very lavender, sort of citrusy, fresh. I thought Gentleman is like a freshie. Someone made fun of me for that because it's got the castoreum and sort of Spanish labdanum and styrax and tonka and all that stuff. The woods in the base, the pepper and birch and all that. But it wears very fresh on my skin. And it's got that green tea relaxing type feel. So Gentleman at 116. Number 115 is from the House of Kritsia. And this is called Crazy Kritsia. Crazy Kritsia. So Crazy Kritsia is, imagine you took Obsession and you added, or I take that back. Well, Obsession may still be in there, but imagine you took that 80s feel more like this, or more like Must de Cartier with that green galbanum basil thing, and added some aldehydes and a beautiful floral heart, and this labdanum vanillic tonka thing in the base with a little bit of civet. Dominique Ropillon made this. I got 2 of these. I think these are 100 mils. I got 2 of these for $80. Value for money is absolutely outrageous for this type of perfume. Definitely going to get a discontinued gem review on the channel one day. So Crazy Kritzia comes in at number 115. 114 is Catalyst for Men. One of the most, I think, underrated Halston fragrances, and one of the best designs ever with the beaker, the chemistry glass bottle. My God, man. Catalyst is absolutely stunning. It's like spicy, woody, smoky. It's got tarragon, one of my secret ingredients, caraway, spicy, dry, sort of floral. There's a vodka note in the top. Craziest sort of alcohol type feel, but it's spicy, woody, green, fruity. And then the dry down is like labdanum and leather and oak moss. It's totally masculine. People love this stuff. I mean, you used to be able to get this at TJ Maxx for 20 or 30 bucks. Now they go for hundreds on eBay if you're lucky. But yeah, I will review that one day. I absolutely love Catalyst for Men. And that's number 114. The Labdanum on Catalyst for Men is in the base, along with the leather and a little bit of castoreum, just a little bit. Number 112 is Hera from the House of Papillon. Thank you, Liz Moores, for this beautiful bottle. She sent this to me as a gift. Well, she sent it to Rich Mitch, who sent it to me as a gift. And she is going to join us on an interview as well, hopefully very soon, whenever her new fragrance comes out, which I cannot wait for. That's called Epona. But this, my God, I am in love with this fragrance. She made this for her daughter's wedding, but she used this very high quality ambrette. Oh man, and she was the one explaining to me ambrette can have that sort of champagne-like smell. Imagine musk without the animalic notes. And this is like the ambrette fragrance for me. Like if oh, you know what? I just realized. I think I skipped a fragrance. So actually, let's go back. Catalyst was 114. We had Halston 112, which is basically Halston's take on a fougere. Deserves more time than just me saying that, but that's number one. 112 is number 113. And then we had number 112, which is Hera. Okay, so Hera is the one that has that ambrette with some of the labdanum in here. And I mean, if you are a fan of Dior Homme, I would highly encourage you to smell this. The ambrette and iris combination is in here. Now, it may be too floral for some guys because it has beautiful jasmine and heliotrope, narcissus, ylang ylang. But for me, it's perfect. I love Hera. Absolutely love it. The way that the ambrette is used is stunning. Stunning. Maybe one of the best examples of that material I've smelled. So 111 is back to Spirit of Dubai. Again, not the first collection, though, the second collection, and it's called Boz. So Boz is sort of supposed to be like a take on this falcon leather, okay? And so it is supposed to be a take on this falcon-like leather. And there's a beautiful falcon on the top, but it's also this oriental, like a lot of the Spirit of Dubai's are. It's a bunch of oriental type notes, but this goes slightly fruity. There's coffee, there's saffron, there's star anise, there's frankincense and honey and birch and all kind of stuff. A little bit of costus, a little bit of civet, and labdanum in the base. Go watch my review of Boz. I'd have a bottle of Abjar, I'd have a bottle of Boz, I'd have a bottle of Nargessi. I mean, if money was no issue, some of those second version Spirit of Dubai, and even some of the first version, like their Oud and some of the other ones, I would own bottles of. I mean, I think they're very good. They're just unbelievably expensive. So I don't own any full bottles, but I'm blessed to be able to at least have talked about them on the channel. So go check out that Boz review if you're interested. 110 is from the house of Parfum d'Empire, which I think is one of the best sort of niche houses that's still going. They're right up there with the houses making stuff for the frag heads, the real fragrance lovers. And this one's called Queer Ottoman. So if you like that sort of Hera type ambrette feel, but you want it to be maybe a little bit more leathery, if you like Roja's Great Britain or Queer Canage or that kind of thing, you know, imagine like a ambrette sort of benzoin iris take on Queer Moresque by Serge Luton. There's a little bit of that in here. And so, yes, Queer Ottoman by Parfum d'Empire is amazing. And of course, there's a little bit of labdanum, or cistus, I should say, in the base. Number 109 is a Gucci, and this is Gucci Pour Homme from 1976. I mean, this is created by one of the all-time great masters. I will review this before the bottle is finished. It was done by Guy Robert, if I'm not mistaken. It's lemon, lavender, basil, bergamot, carnation. I love the way old school carnation is done with spices, iris, pepper, patchouli, labdanum in the base, and some tonka. So woody, spicy, gentlemanly, just so easy to wear. I love Gucci Porum from 76. Number 108 is back to the House of Sherwood, and this is called Ambrosia. Go watch my review of Ambrosia. There's only 50 bottles of these in the world. One of the best oud ambergris fragrances with a little bit of castoreum I smelled in 2023. Absolutely stunning. I think this is kind of Prakar Gupta taking the next step. So again, I hope you can join us tomorrow for that interview. We'll definitely be talking about things like Ambrosia and Chrysos. So that's number 108, Ambrosia. 107 is Vetiver Royale from the same house. Decant review. You can go check it out on the channel. 3 or 4 different types of vetiver, but that used, I think, a little more labdanum, so it got the nod over Ambrosia. Because again, we're not ranking the fragrance itself, we're ranking the ingredient. So 106 is from the house of Balenciaga. This is called Ho Hang, and I really feel like Ho Hang shares a lot with YSL Pour Homme, done by the exact same perfumer, if I'm not mistaken, Raymond Chailan. But Jacques Jensen also had a hand in this. But Raymond Chailan, I think, was the hallmark perfumer, the big name. And so this is sort of, think about the woody, spicy aspects of YSL Pour Homme, but imagine you're adding a little bit more, it feels like there's more labdanum, to me anyways, in the base with some benzoin, whereas YSL Pour Homme uses a little more of the spices and, you know, it feels like it's a little bit more aromatic, if you will. But yes, both of them are all-time classics. You can't go wrong. 1971, Ho Hang by Balenciaga, number 106. 105 is from the house of Naomi Goodsir. This is called Eau du Sorel, and this is unbelievable stuff. This is the older packaging, from my understanding. I don't know about reformulations with the house of Naomi Goodsir, but this is like Bertrand Duchaufour does Tobacco Vanille, but he does it in that Bertrand Duchaufour way where there's a twist. There's Divana, because of course there is. There's this red fruits and mango in the top with Cistus again in the top. So here, though, he did what he didn't do in Diamant and Jubilation 25. He put Cistus in the top and he put Labdanum in the base, and that really makes this feel so much heavier. That's why it's a little bit higher up, along with Amber, and that Tobacco Absolute and Vanilla, fuck, is to die for. It's absolutely beautiful. At number 105. Number 104 is a decant review from the house of Bortnikov. It's called Moss Cologne. Beautiful, mossy Chypre in the Bortnikov style with some champaka, which is a very sunny, spicy, tea-like flower with jasmine and ylang-ylang and violet leaf, and then the labdanum and ambergris are in the base. Number 103 is Erosia, and I should have got it before, but I was being lazy. So this is called, oh shit, will I even be able to find it? Yes, I will. It is called Vetiver Parfum Pour Homme. There's a review on the channel. You can check it out. Vetiver. Rumor is that Roja made this for his partner, okay? And apparently his partner used to wear Guerlain's Vetiver and didn't like how it was reformulated, so Roja made this for him. That's the story. I actually really like this. You can go watch my review, but it is unbelievably overpriced, and it feels like just a Chypre that they added a little bit more vetiver to, but the complexity of it feels like a Chypre construction. Of course, Roja loves Chypre and he loves labdanum, so there's labdanum in the base. Go watch my review. We won't go any further. There's Cistus in the heart and labdanum in the base. So that's Roja's Vetiver at number 103. 102 is a perfume from the house of Aramis, and this is called Aramis Perfume Calligraphy Rose. Perfume Calligraphy Rose. I believe it was Armando who sent me these very kindly. And Perfume Calligraphy Rose is an amazing fragrance. It feels like a rose water Middle Eastern style fragrance. Very, very well done. Very beautiful. And the labdanum there is in the base along with a little bit of frankincense. But that Turkish Rose Absolute and saffron, Middle Eastern style with a little bit of oregano is beautiful. And I think this came out a year after Interlude Man. So you noticed I mentioned a Roja that used oregano and an Aramis a year or two after Interlude Man. So these houses are really paying attention. Okay, I gotta get something on my throat because my throat's not gonna make it. Drinking too fast. Okay. So that was number 102. Number 101 is from the house of Jean Desprez. Jean Desprez. And this is called Versailles Pour Homme. This is the Eau de Cologne. There's also an Eau de Parfum. This is beautiful stuff. I will review it one of these days. I have not on the channel yet, but yeah, bittersweet green, or bitter, not bittersweet, but bitter green with a leather combination that will remind you a little bit of Aramis, like the original Aramis. Frankincense, moss, amber, and leather and labdanum give it a little bit of that Aramis feel, but with like a little bit of an 80s pimento. Imagine what was going on in the 80s, you know, with things like, gosh, I don't know, things like Jean Patou's Patou Pour Homme, but mixed with Aramis is a little bit of Versailles Pour Homme. Really good stuff at 101. Number 100 is from the house of Jean-Charles de Castelbajac. Go watch my Jean-Charles de Castelbajac reviews if you want to check out a house no one talks about, although they should. This is JCC number 2, marketed towards women. A beautiful Chypre. Has little hints of Diaghilev in here. Aldehydic floral, galbanum. Oh, it's so good. It is, I can smell the residue on this. It is absolutely beautiful. Carnation, jasmine, rose, ylang, iris, and castoreum, labdanum, leather, moss, and patchouli in the base. These old Chypres from the 80s, fuck, man, they were so unbelievably good. So that's Jean-Charles de Castelbajac, JCC number 2 from 1988. Spicy, leathery Chypre, number 100. 99 is from the house of Slumber House. This is called Cibette. Came out in 2016, I want to say. Yes, Cibette came out in 2016. Well, it was originally called New Cibette. Sorry. New Cibette was the original that came out in 2016. Then I think in 2018 or 19, they put out another one that was called Cibette, which is what I reviewed. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the way it worked. New Cibette was first, so it's a little bit weird. But it was iris, carnation, goat's hair, leather, cistus, moss, and mint. One of my favorite animalic discoveries of last year when I reviewed Cibette. It was absolutely stunning. I would love a bottle of that one day. It's on my never-ending wish list. Number 98 is a Frederick Malle, and this is called Music for a While. It's funny because Parfumo actually has Music for a While listed as a feminine fragrance, which I did not know this was marketed as feminine. I thought it was unisex, and actually I think this is masculine smelling, but it's kind of their response to Aventus because this has an amazing pineapple note. But the pineapple in the top feels like pineapple syrup, like it sat on the counter and got all sticky and you touched it, you know, and your hands are all sticky now. And some mandarin orange, but the lavender in here is stunning. Rich Mitch says it smells like the lavender in Beau de Jour. Actually, I haven't smelled Beau de Jour, so I couldn't tell you. But it's patchouli, amber, labdanum, and vanilla. Or if I did smell it, I smelled it in passing and I can't remember. But it's like their take on a fruity sweet, like a neo-modern, like a fougere twist-up or something, you know, very interesting. I think this is good. Carlos Benaim's the perfumer. I think they did a good job with Music for a While. Some people didn't like it because of the sweetness. I actually really like it. It's one of my favorite sweet fragrances. Carlos Benaim made it at number 98. 97 is Aventus. I put Aventus one stop above Music for a While, just because I had to. I mean, this is an example of a fruity Chypre. It's got the pineapple, it's got the labdanum, it's got the bergamot in the top. I mean, it is a example of a Chypre. It's like a very modern Chypre. I heard some people call this like imagine like a Chypre. Imagine like if your house is the fragrance, this is like a glass house mansion, very modern in style, and that's exactly what it is. And I don't care how many clones people wear. I don't care how close it gets in the air. Nothing ever compares to the vintage bottles of Aventus, for me, my opinion. I've smelled all kind of clones, all the Club de Nuits, all that shit, L'Aventure, all that shit. Nothing compares to the OG Aventus to me. And if you want my most complimented fragrance, there's no doubt about it. It's Aventus, no doubt. And I don't really give a shit about compliments, but yes, I do like that Parfumo finally put Jean-Christophe Herault as the perfumer. So bravo. Okay, so that is Aventus at number 97. Number 96 is a fragrance from the house of Jeroboam, And it is called, man, I don't know why I'm not prepared. It is called, oh, we lost the cap, ladies and gentlemen. Cap down, cap down. Okay. This is called Ligno. So Ligno, think about if you've ever smelled Killian Straight to Heaven Extreme. Think about like a little bit of a budget version of that. I have no problem recommending this for those who can't find Straight to Heaven Extreme anymore because it's discontinued. But saffron, sage, bergamot, balsam firs, ambergris, rose, cistus, patchouli. It definitely has that cistus, patchouli. Imagine like Straight to Heaven Extreme meets like Javoy's psychedelic with that patchouli, cistus, musk tonka bean thing. Very well done. And no one talks about Ligno, but I actually really like it. And I want to explore more from this house. Jeroboam. Okay, next on the list we have a decant review. It's called Costume National Homme Parfum. I love that stuff. I would love a bottle. It came out in 2020. Costume National Homme Parfum is a Dominique Ropion, and it's cardamom, bergamot, grapefruit, cinnamon, vetiver, patchouli, labdanum, musk, and sandalwood. Go watch my review. I love that shit. I would have a bottle if money was no issue. Number 94 is a John Varvatos fragrance, and this is probably my favorite John Varvatos fragrance. It's called Dark Rebel Rider. I honestly believe if you put this, which is a badass bottle, by the way, with the leather jacket, if you put this in a Roja bottle and said it was $500, people would pay it. They would absolutely pay it. They would talk about how amazing it smells. They would talk about the complexity and all that stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rodrigo Flores Rue helps Roja on some of his creations. I know they're good friends, but this stuff is just absolute fire. Rodrigo Flores Rue of Givaudan took the original Dark Rebel, which was still good, and turned it into something amazing, adding the Somalian frankincense and Osmanthus Absolute, which Osmanthus, leather, there's a Russian leather note in here, so it's slightly smoky on its own, but it's like a designer take on a very complex leather. Leathery, spicy, saffron. I love this fragrance. I need to review it one of these days, but it is so good. And if you like things like Roja's Great Britain, I mean, this competes. I hate to say it does, but it really does. I mean, I love wearing both Great Britain and this. They're just, the price difference is astronomically different. So Dark Rebel Rider at number 94. I can't go into these long, espoused, drawn out sort of, little bits on each one of these fragrances. I need to get moving. So number 93 is from the House of Clive Christian. And this is called Clive Christian E for Men Gourmand Oriental is what this one's called. I'm not even going to open it. I will review it one of these days. It is a sort of maple syrup breakfast coffee fragrance that has some spice from clove, cinnamon, labdanum, peach, and rum. So the rum makes it feel very modern, but maple here is not like fresh maple tree. Like in Amber Kiso, it's completely different. It's like literal maple syrup. So if you're a fan of those type of scents, Gourmand Oriental may be your thing. At number 93. Number 92 is a January scent project creation. It's called Smolder Rose. There's a review on the channel if you want to check it out. Smolder Rose is absolutely beautiful. I would have a bottle of that if money was no issue. Damask Rose, Elderflower, Labdanum, Oud, Frankincense, Saffron, Patchouli, Cade, Juniper. Go check out my review of Smolder Rose. Absolutely love that shit. At number 92. Number 91 is a fragrance that I don't think, maybe one other person outside of me reviewed it, but got almost no love on YouTube, and it's called Black Leather Jesus. Someone sent me a decant of that, and I was blown away. I mean, it smells like you're in a club, sweating, people are playing rock music up there, you're like in the mosh pit, banging your head away, and people are just dripping sweat. Probably the guy next to you is hyped up on crank. You know, there's this birch tar, labdanum, leather, mimosa, patchouli, rose, vanilla, vetiver, ylang is the notes, but it smells like it's dingy, grungy. I mean, it smells like you're in the 90s, right? Like Kurt Cobain's on stage, just got done smoking a cigarette, and, he's just stoned to bejesus, playing his heart out, okay? And so that's Black Leather Jesus, but check out my review. It is a very interesting fragrance, and I would love to smell more from this house. The guy's name is Scott Kinberg, who it's 555 Perfumery. Black leather juices, hell of a leather. Number 90 is Roja's Great Britain. And Great Britain is the other fragrance outside of Chypre Extraordinaire that was $1,750 that they all of a sudden slashed $1,000 and it became $750. Great, what a absolute genius fragrance this is. I mean, it goes back to Caron's Tabac, or I forgot what, maybe it was called Tabac. I can't remember. There is a touch of Queer Moresque. There's a touch of Queer Canage with that iris, violet, purple leather smell. I love this stuff. The ambrette in here, probably these are two of my favorite ambrette fragrances. The Hera and Great Britain. But the leather in here is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I did a comparison video between this and Chanel's Cuir de Russie because he called it a Russian leather. I don't know. My favorite, just flat out Russian leather, is probably Origine Doré's Russian leather. But I'll do like a proper Russian leather video one day. But that's Great Britain at number 90. Number 89 is from the house of Papillon again, and this is called Dryad. So Dryad is an old school green Chypre is what it is. Chypres are almost always going to have Labdanum. That's part of the makeup in here. But this is bitter green smell with a bunch of different animalics, a little bit of fruits like apricot, but somehow it managed to stay with that bitter green. And there's Labdanum and balsams and resins, and I'm so glad to have a bottle of Dryad. So there is a review on the channel. You can check it out. So Dryad comes in at number 89. 88 is a decant review from the house of La Via del Profumo, and this one's called Tabac. And Tabac is another one that I would definitely have a bottle of if money was no issue. It's done by Dominique Dubrano, who's now is known as Abdez Salam Attar. Hell of an AKA, but it's Cistus, tobacco, tonka, and vanilla. Simple fragrance, natural, 100% natural fragrance, but so beautiful. His fragrances are so beautiful. I'm a big fan of Abdez Salam Attar. I'd love to smell more of his work. There's a couple reviews on the channel, but hopefully more to come as time goes on. But number 87, speaking of underrated houses, this is from the house of Etro, and this is called Ambre. Now, this is the vintage Eau de Cologne. I believe you can still buy this in the Eau de Toilette version. I can't say I know what that smells like. It's in my nature to go vintage. I've learned my lesson well. So there's two bottles. I almost always go with the vintage if it looks like it's in good shape. But the Eau de Cologne version of Ambre is like a powdery sort of oriental take on an amber. There's lots of Labdanum in the top. And then it dries down with the Papanax, Styrax, vanilla, patchouli, and musk. And some sort of dry coriander and sprightly bergamot. It's like a very powdery take on a amber. Maybe more powdery than you might expect, but beautiful nonetheless. I'm a big fan of the House of Etro. Maybe one of the greatest underrated houses of all time. Okay, next on the list, number 86, we've got Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis, one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Thank God I've got a backup of this stuff. I love Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis. It's spicy, it's woody. Some people compare it to Antaeus, but for me, it's like more of a sort of soapy take on the dry down is much fresher. There are some notes in here that are already showing the shift, even in 1980, showing the shift that is to come. Later on down the road, we started to get things like Cool Water in the late 80s and, stuff like that really started to kind of change the game. And early in the 80s, you started to see signs of that with the fresher takes on some of the fragrances. My Scent of the Day is an example of that, but this is one such example. Yes, it has the leather and stuff like that in the dry down, but it's a little bit more polite. And this was already in 1980. Labdanum is in the base. Absolutely stunning. Cannot believe Oscar de la Renta discontinued this. What a misstep. But I understand it is what it is. Sales are sales, but man, tough. One of the all-time greats. Number 86, Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis. Number 85 is maybe one of the most just glossed over Halston fragrances. One of my all-time favorites that I've come across, And this is thanks to Frank. He found me a bottle, and I love this shit. I've been spraying it on before bed occasionally. Oh my God, it is so unbelievable. And I've got a review from 1987. This is called Halston Limited. Check out that old school bottle. My God. So Halston Limited, again, go watch my review, but I think it's one of the most underrated Halston fragrances. And of course, there's Labdanum, and this is a heavy, heavy fragrance. Heavy. Lots of heft, lots of castoreum and leathers and stuff like that. Amazing stuff. Cannot believe that Halston discontinued some of those gems. So that is Halston Limited at number 85. Number 84 is a niche house, very similar to what Frederick Malle does. It's called Biel Parfum Kunstwerk, which basically translates from German to Biel's Perfume Works of Art. Okay, so this is called AL03, and the perfumer here is a gentleman named Arturetto Landi, which is a hell of a name. Can you imagine being introduced to him? Arturetto Landi, pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. But this is an amazing vintage, old school sort of take on a chypre. A leather chypre is basically what this is. It's an old school take on a leather chypre. But if you've ever smelled any of the old Jill Sanders fragrances, like one I'm going to talk about today, which is my scent of the day, it's a little higher on the list, but this is in that realm. But it's spicy, it's leathery, it's minty, it's fruity, the florals are unbelievable, and my God, man, I mean, this is my kind of perfume, and the fact that this is a niche fragrance, and it's still in production, and they're still making it, shows it can be done. It just, some people don't want to do it, you know? So, yes, AL03. I'll be talking more about this one as time goes on. Amazing stuff from Biel Parfum Kunstwerk. Hell of a name. At number 84. Number 83 is Cartier's Roadster, one of my favorite sort of spring and summer patchouli designer fragrances. It's got patchouli and mint, beautiful for the spring and summer, with labdanum, vanilla, some cashmeran, vetiver, and bergamot. Mathilde Laurent is the perfumer, and Roadster. All of Cartier's fragrances are named after like watches, I believe. So I mentioned Pasha earlier. There's a Roadster watch. There's a Santos watch. But yes, this is really good stuff. Cartier's Roadster at number 83. Number 82, back to the House of Spirit of Dubai, and this one's called Tarath. Go watch my review. Tarath is a amazing sort of fruity oriental, lots of dried fruits and peaches and black currants and strawberries, and there's that coffee, cumin, and the labdanum and peru balsams and resins are in the base. Stunning fragrance at number 82. Number 81 is from the House of Francesca Bianchi. Again, it's a decant review. It's called The Lover's Tale. You can go check out my thoughts. I really liked The Lover's Tale. If I was going to pick a couple of Francesca Bianchi's to have full bottles of, that one would be on the list. I really like the leather, orris butter, castoreum, honeyed sort of combination. She always overdoses that orris accord, but she did a really good job in The Lover's Tale. You know, imagine two bodies pressed against each other, sweating, heat kind of radiating from each other's body. Beautiful fragrance. Go watch my review. Fantastic stuff. Number 80 is from the House of Roja. Again, a decant review. It's called L'Ascar Pour Homme. It's made specifically for the Hotel L'Ascar. Used a very rare flower that you don't see in perfume very often called the Mayflower. So it's Mayflower, carnation with the grapefruit top, cistus in the mid, and the celery seed like vetiver dry down. The dry down reminds me a lot of vetiver, which I was mentioning earlier. It feels like just a regular chypre with a little things changed here and there. Feels like L'Ascar was one iteration and his vetiver was another iteration, but I love them both. I think I might actually even like L'Ascar a little bit more because it goes heavier into the cistus and labdanum and resins, but they're both really good. So L'Ascar Pour Homme at number 80. Number 79 is Valentino's Vendetta Pour Homme, unfortunately discontinued, but a beautiful take on Halston's Z14, an Italian take on Z14, spicy, woody, lavender, vervain, neroli, with a little bit of clove and bay rum, and labdanum and oak moss and patchouli in the base. Fantastic fragrance. Thank you, Justin, for that, my friend. And then number 78 is a decant review, Tom Ford's Italian Cypress. I really enjoyed getting to know Italian Cypress. I'd love a bottle one day, but there's no way I'm paying those prices. Italian Cypress is galbanum, peppermint, cypress, basil, carnation, patchouli, and then moss and labdanum in the base. Definitely Tom Ford's take on Halston Z14. And obviously, I mean, Tom Ford wants to be Roy Halston. He lives in Roy Halston's house. He literally bought the house that Halston used to live in. He is like the new age Halston. People don't realize how popular Halston was in the 70s. That's what people wore to clubs. You know, it wasn't polo green. It was Halston. So Tom Ford is like the new Halston. Italian Cypress comes in at number 78. Number 77 is Roja's Apex Eau de Parfum. I think it has more labdanum and Cistus. Apex has Cistus in the heart and labdanum in the base. So that's why I put it one step above Italian Cypress. And I actually really liked Apex. I hated the marketing campaign. I know a lot of people made fun of it for that axe-looking bottle, but the juice inside was very good, very vintage in style. And again, if money was no issue, I would definitely have a bottle of Apex at number 77. Number 76 is a Trussardi, and it's called Uomo from 1983. There is a review of this, a full review, a Hall of Fame review, if I'm not mistaken. I absolutely love this stuff. I think this was so influential. That's the reason it got a Hall of Fame review. If you're this kind of influential fragrance where you sort of, other houses are copying you 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and this is one of Beatrice Piquet's greatest creations. Unfortunately, she made way too few fragrances before she passed away, but oh my God, that Italian smelling sort of spices in the top with the thyme, fresh, you know, herbs and spices, basil, marjoram, and then the carnation and drying down to the labdanum leather. What a fragrance. Love Trussardi's Uomo from 1983. Number 75 is a fragrance from the house of Ted Lapidus, and it is called Ted Lapidus Pour Homme, but this is from 1978. And look at this presentation. I mean, look at how they used to do it back in the day, man. Look at this. Oh, baby. Come on now. Come on. How can you not love that? It's so old school. This is, fuck. I mean, this may be, I can't decide, honestly. This is right up there with Lapidus Pour Homme from 87 for me, though. This is a fragrance that, let me put you back in your box. So to me, this is a fragrance that kind of encompasses 1978. 1978 is one of those pivotal years in perfume to me. And I absolutely love Ted Lapidus Pour Homme. It's got this leather, spruce, castoreum, mossy, frankincense, adds a little bit of the sort of smokiness to it, spicy, leathery, smoky, and the labdanum adds heft. So beautiful. Such, I mean, that could easily be like a signature scent for me. I love wearing those kind of fragrances. So Ted Lapidus Pour Homme at number 75. 74 is a Comme des Garçons, and it is called Avignon. So Avignon is one of the greatest incense fragrances ever made, cold church incense, and it was created by Bertrand Duchaufour. And there's so frankincense, Roman chamomile, Brazilian rosewood, Cistus, elemi resins, patchouli, and vanilla. And the elemi kind of softens it up just a little bit, but it's still kind of a cold incense. Really good stuff at number 74. 73 is a fragrance from the House of Rogue, and it is called Dervish. Dervish is a big oriental. If you can stand the opening and get to the dry down, it's a really good fragrance. The opening is very sweet, like sweetened saffron, like crystallized sweet sugary saffron. That dries down to this tobacco leather civet with musk and labdanum. Beautiful fragrance. Jasmine in here is stunning as well. But the opening is not my favorite, but the dry down is really something. Dervish from Rogue at number 73. Number 72 is from the house of Balmain, and this is called Eben. I don't know if you say ebony or Eben de Balmain. And this stuff is absolutely fire. There's a review on the channel. You can check it out. I reviewed it off of a mini. Loved it so much I was able to hunt down a bottle. And unfortunately discontinued, but one of the greats from the 80s. It's got that, man, this bottle is fresh as a daisy too. This bottle is amazing. So it's got this sort of fresh spearminty, minty, basil, green, artemisia-like opening, and it dries down, so it's much greener than some of these other leathery fragrances we were talking about, but it dries down to something very similar with that mossy, frankincense-y leather. So imagine taking something like Ted Lapidus Pour Homme from 1978 and just adding this earthy green sort of thing on top. It's so beautiful. Fuck, man. And the detail of these vintage fragrances is to die for. So, yes, I'm glad vintage is getting the recognition it deserves, but it's also, I think, more like, it's almost like a damnation of modern perfumery and what they're putting out, why so many people are willing to pay so much for old perfume. They've really let us down, is what's happened. They should be ashamed of themselves. So number 71 is my favorite Moschino fragrance of all time. It's called Moschino Pour Homme. This is kind of Moschino's take on Bel Ami. Oh my God, this is so good. Oh, if you're a fan of Bel Ami, you have to smell this. So Moschino Pour Homme kind of takes that Italian-styled execution of Bel Ami. They tried to freshen it up a little bit with some sort of oily rosemary and these different little green notes that come in, and lavender that makes it a little bit more clean shirt, but then it still dries down to that dirty, spicy, leathery castoreum with labdanum and styrax, and it's a very waxy leather, ambery, fantastic stuff. I love Moschino Pour Homme. I would love to find one of the bottles with the dual atomizers. So that's number 71. Number 70 is a Nishane. This is called Unutumaham. This shit is crazy. This is one of the craziest fragrances I've ever smelled. It's like a caramel, castoreum. Like, imagine smelling this minty caramel castoreum. Like, imagine you made a caramel castoreum drink and then you just like squirted some mouthwash into it. It's with this oregano and patchouli earthiness and carnation. So they call this the experimental collection, and there is definitely something experimental about this. So yes, Unutumam is insane at number 70. Number 69 is a fragrance from the house of Amouage, and this is called Beloved Woman. So special shout out to Allie for continuing to grow my Amouage collection, even when I can't. She is my Amouage sugar mama, and I very much am in her debt. But Beloved Woman is, oh my God, it is such a complex chypre. One of the things about these women's Amouages, I overlook them greatly, okay? This has everything from the beautiful opening. There's clove blossom and chamomile and lavender. I mean, so wearable by a guy, too. There's a little bit of Immortelle and Cistus. This is exactly the opposite of Beloved Man, by the way. So much heavier and denser and richer than in Beloved Man. There's some benzoin, so there's Cistus in the heart, and it dries down to this leathery castoreum. It is slightly animalic, but it's so thick and rich. Everything a fragrance lover loves is in here. And I just can't believe I overlooked the women's Amouages so much. So Beloved Woman comes in at number 69. Number 68 is an Orige La Dorée, and this is called Musk Lave. Again, very similar to what I said about Chrysos. It is no sort of knock on the house that it's where it's at. This is just that this focuses more on the labdanum, it focuses more on the lavender and the musk. This is basically like a lavender musk combination. Real Siberian deer musk with lavender and lavender absolute. And I reviewed this. You can go check out my thoughts, but there's amazing musky Mysore sandalwood in here as well. Slightly powdery. The osmanthus adds a little bit of that, I think the labdanum and the osmanthus kind of work together to add a little leatheriness in the dry down. And this beautiful iris. There's something so old school about this fragrance and so lovely. Beautiful presentation too. Musk Lave comes in at number 68. Number 67 is a fragrance from the house of Caron. And this is called Yatagan. So, sorry, I'm going to have to reach down for all of these. I'm out of space. So Yatagan comes in at number 67. And Yatagan is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Probably my favorite Caron fragrance. Tarragon, galbanum, lavender, pine, carnation, patchouli, castoreum, leather, labdanum in the base with oak moss and styrax, and it just feels like you're walking in a forest and you've got, you know, undisturbed leaves. You kick them up and there's all this kind of moldy undercurrent smell that's been sitting there covered, bacteria growing, you know, stuff happening. And you just kind of release that covered forest smell into the world. It's absolutely beautiful. Yatagan comes in at number 67. Number 66 is a decant Fortin Manley Amber Absolutely. Check it out. Check out my review. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy those Fortin Manleys. I'd love more, but again, there's just so much to smell and so little time. 65 is from the House of Bortnikov. Again, a sample review. Tabak Dore, probably my favorite tobacco that I don't own a full bottle of. You said, Ramsey, you get a full bottle right now of a tobacco fragrance that you don't own. Go. It would be Tabak Dore number 1, and it would be Royal Tobacco number 2, that's coming up later in the list as well. But Tabak Dore, just so complex tobacco smell. One of the Tabak Dore is like if you want to see how complex Tobacco Absolute can be, smell Tabak Dore. Number 65. 64 is from the House of Javoy, and it is called Les Jeux Sans Fates. And Les Jeux Sans Fates I think it means like games are played or made or something like that. But I love these bottles, by the way, from Javoy. They're so well made. Oh, that's so good. AC from the channel Smells Good said this smells like a gentleman's club. And there is some truth to that, you know, because Les Jeux Sans Fates has gin, it has Cuban rum, so 2 types of liqueur, dried fruits, tobacco, labdanum, patchouli, cistus, but it doesn't wear super heavy, but the cistus is so legible, you know, like you can read it, like you're sitting at the table and you know you're reading the braille, you're reading literally you're feeling it, you're touching it, you are in a gentleman's club, so maybe you are feeling and touching it. But Les Jeux Sans Fates is absolutely stunning. I would urge you to check it out. I will review it one of these days. One of my favorites from the brand. Okay, next on the list we have number 63, and it is from the House of Roja, and it is called FM the Perfume. Fortnum and Mason the Perfume. Maybe one of the most underrated Rojas. FM the Perfume is a beautiful Chypre. Of course, Roja loves Chypres, but it's a ambery take on a Chypre, if you will, with a little bit of citron fruit, which is a very tangy, sort of, there's almost no juice in citron. It's all rind. So this rindy, tangy smell, beautiful floral heart, May Rose, and Cistus is in the heart, and Labdanum is in the base. So it's almost like this fruity floral Chypre. It's like it's like an Oriental and a Chypre combined, but done in a Roja fashion. So Fortnum and Mason, the perfume, is so overlooked. I love this fragrance. And if you said, Ramsey, you can have one Roja you don't own, that may be the full bottle I'd go with. Okay, number 62 is a Serge Lutens fragrance, and this is called, please don't break anything, Borneo 1834. I love this, but man, I've been loving Vetiver Oriental, but I do feel like this amps up the patchouli a little bit over Vetiver Oriental. Borneo 1834 is the fragrance that came first, and then Coromandel came. Christopher Sheldrake is an absolute genius, as is Serge Lutens. Patchouli, cacao, camphor, labdanum, cardamom, galbanum, and white blossoms. I mean, what more can you say? One of the all-time great patchouli fragrances. Borneo 1834. Number 61 is an amouage. It's called Jubilation 25. I hope this is Jubilation 25. Yes, it is. Jubilation 25 for ladies. This is the sample, or what they used to give to the stores or something. So number 61, Jubilation 25. I do think that Jubilation for women has much more labdanum than the men's version does. It's more of a traditional Chypre with labdanums, ambers, and stuff like that. A lot of cumin in the base that isn't listed, but if you love Diaghilev and you want maybe a more budget take on Diaghilev, Jubilation is absolutely beautiful. Again, do not sleep on these women amouages. I'm telling you, they are absolutely stunning and so overlooked, at least by me. I overlooked them for years. Okay, next on the list we have a Dior, and it is called Leather Oud. I absolutely love Leather Oud. It is pissy, dirty, civet, and oud, done in Dior Privé style with this sort of animalic beeswax to amp it up. So there's labdanum, beeswax, amber, civet, leather, cardamom, clove, patchouli, sandalwood, cedar, and vetiver, and birch. So it's smoky. And this shit lasts forever. I mean, if you spray this on a card, you'll smell it for a week. It is so unbelievably strong into the dry down. Leather Oud at number 60. Number 59 is another Roja. It is Parfum de la Nuit number 2. Again, I've reviewed all 3 of these, so you can check out my reviews if you're interested. But Parfum de la Nuit number 2 is probably my least favorite from the house, but the Cistus and the Labdanum still play a big role. It's kind of a take on like Cistus is in the heart, and then you have rum, cacao, tolu balsam, tonka bean, vanilla, labdanum. So it has both Cistus and labdanum. But the rum and some of the other things, I think, take the focus a little bit away. So that's why it's not as high on the list as the first one is, which we'll be getting to later on. So that's PDL in number 2 and number 59. Number 58 is a Tom Ford, and it is called Tom Ford Extreme. So Tom Ford, I thought it was Tom Ford for Men Extreme. Apparently it's just Tom Ford Extreme. But I believe it is marketed towards men, or it was. Yeah, it was marketed towards men. Came out in 2007 with the original Tom Ford for Men, and it is discontinued. It's my favorite of the 2, but this stuff is absolutely unbelievable. And, you know, Pierre Negrin, he did some amazing things while at Amouage. And before Amouage, he was doing stuff like this. So Tom Ford Extreme, Plum, Cistus, Truffle, Black Truffle, which Tom Ford was playing with in a bunch of different fragrances, patchouli, fig, rum, vetiver. What a fragrance. I mean, thick and rich and heavy and spicy, woody, smoky. I mean, it's everything. Pierre Negrin and Claude Durr came together to create something amazing there. That should have been in a private blend bottle. That absolutely should have been in a private blend. Okay, number 57 is an Amouage. We have Fate Man, which we are still waiting for a review on Fate Man. This is the ultimate cumin fragrance. It's cumin, licorice, labdanum into the dry down. Just, if you're a spicy fan, check this out. Look at the bottle. Just an absolute work of art. Fate Man comes in at number 57. Number 56 is a Roja. And so we're back to Roja, and it is called Majestic Oud. And I've reviewed this one. It is discontinued, unfortunately, but I've worn the piss out of this. I've basically run through 2 or 3 of these decants, so I never got a bottle because it's so expensive. But spicy oriental, very similar in it has a similar feel to Roja's Hautlux, like the way that the fragrances kind of wear into the base, but they do smell a little bit different. The osmanthus is a big differentiator here, but the labdanum is in the base, and go check out my review of Majestic Oud if you would like. This is discontinued. It was one of the purple cap ones that got discontinued. Okay, as much as I want to keep going, we have to take a quick break here because my voice isn't going to make it. Sorry to have to do that in your ear. Okay, number 55. We are back to Amouage, and this is Overture Man. Grapefruit, spices, cumin, animalic notes with labdanum, oriental, heavy base. This is Amouage through and through. Go check out my review of Overture Man. I absolutely love this stuff. One of the last great Amouages, in my opinion. Okay, so number 54 is from the house of Eldo, a Tat Libre d'Orange, and this is called Rien. Now, Rien basically means nothing, which is hilarious because it's one of the biggest fragrances you'll ever smell. It's leathery, spicy, smoky, peppery, and it's got leather and Cistus Absolute. It is huge. And Antoine Lee, one of Antoine Lee's kind of coming out fragrances, I think. Excuse me, before this, he did a lot of designers. So this is like one of his, I'm going to do something crazy, fuck you industry fragrances. So good on him. Good on you, mate. So that is Rien at number 54. Number 53 is a Serge Luton, and it is called Attaby. Don't ask me why I don't have all this stuff ready. But it is Attaby. So Attaby comes in at number 53. Attaby is sort of this big, spicy oriental with dates and cumin and tobacco and labdanum and myrrh. And Some people say it smells like a Christmas sort of cake, if you will, like a fruit cake. Not in the way you're thinking, but the good way, the delicious fruitcake way. Dates, dried figs, clove, cumin, nutmeg, benzoin. It's absolutely beautiful. It's perfect scent for winter and especially Christmas. But candied mandarin peels, resins, myrrh, just a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. So at a B from the house of Serge Luton comes in at number 53. Number 52 is an Arise Ladore off of a sample called Civet de Nuit. Go check out my review of Civet de Nuit. It's basically aged civet for 40 or 50 years. Heliotrope, aldehydes, and the dry down is white ambergris, castoreum, tobacco, labdanum, styrax, frankincense, real Mysore sandalwood. Sultan Pasha made that. I would love a bottle of Civet de Nuit. If I can find one for half price, I may still very well pull the trigger. But yes, amazing stuff at number 52. Number 51 is an Aramis fragrance, and it's called JHL. JHL, this is what the vintage bottles look like. JHL stands for Joseph Henry Lauder, from my understanding. It was made for Estee Lauder's husband before he passed away. And JHL takes a lot from Cinnabar and takes a lot from opium. Josephine Catapano is the perfumer. And it is just a stunning oriental orange. There's this orange thing that kind of runs down the middle with labdanum and clove and cinnamon. Very warming oriental. You know, if you like Cinnabar or opium, you'll love JHL. It's beautiful. Came out in 1982. So same year as KL. KL and JHL kind of play off of each other. Okay, number 50 is an Amouage, and it is Mitt's Man. So I've reviewed Mitt's Man on the channel. You can check it out. Crazy chrysanthemum and ash. Not incense, but literal ash-like smell with rum, elemi, and labdanum into the base. Some people call it like a baby interlude man, like a baby blue beast, purple beast. It is discontinued, unfortunately, but Mitt's Man is fantastic stuff. At number 50. Number 49 is a Javoy, and it is Psychedelique. So Psychedelique is a huge patchouli. It's patchouli and labdanum, chocolatey patchouli, sweetened chocolatey patchouli, but also earthy and scratchy and all the stuff you love in patchouli. If you're a patchouli head, if you're a patch hoe, you need to check that out. Javoy's Psychedelic at number 49. Number 48 is from the house of Dmitry Bortnikov, and it is called Oud Monarch. So I've got a review of Oud Monarch. It's one of my favorite chocolate ouds, if you will. It's Magnolia, Frangipani, Rose de Mai, Himalayan Rose, Cinnamon, Tobacco, Oud Marouk, Oud Ko Chang from Feel Oud, Cacao, Civet, Castoreum, Labdanum, and Vanilla. And if you can find these old sort of wood cap versions of Oud Monarch, I would say go for that if you can, because I have had some people say that reformulation issues with the house keep popping up, but I don't know. I haven't smelled any of the new ones, but that is Oud Monarch at number 48. Number 47 is from the house of Etienne Aigner, and it is Aigner's Silver. Now, this is a little 10 ml bottle that the guy sold it to me. Thought it was a 5 ml. Oh my God. So if you like Portos by Balenciaga, silver is like a little bit of a more wearable Portos. You can go watch my Portos review. It's got this sweaty pheromone body-like scent from the castoreum and labdanum and frankincense and moss in the base and leather. Spicy, animalic. There's also spruce and fennel and green notes and juniper, and I mean, silver is absolutely stunning. Probably my favorite Aigner, probably. But yeah, it's very, very good. Number 47. 46 is a decant review. It's called Bortnikov's Bon Air. Bon Air. And Bon Air is one of his earlier works, actually. It feels like a rough draft of Bortnikov fragrances to come, you know, with the way that he did the cardamom in the top and sort of the labdanum and cedarwood woodiness in the base and the dry down, and the florals of Frangipani and Champaca and marigold. A little bit of myrrh, a little bit of nutmeg, well, a lot of nutmeg actually from memory. But Bonaire is one that I enjoyed getting to smell, but I don't think I would run after a bottle. But it is discontinued, number 46. 45 is a Javoy, and this one's called Private Label. Private Label is one of my favorite Javoys, up there with Les Jus Sans Fates. Unlike Les Jus Sans Fates, this is an absolute beast. So Les Jus Sans Fates wears very kind of light on the skin. This wears like you wouldn't believe. Heavy, leathery, papyrus, smoky leather, patchouli, labdanum, and birch. One of my all-time favorite Cecile Zarokian creations from 2011 when she was just a mere pup, a mere infant. But yes, Private Label is fantastic at number 45. Number 43 is a Dunhill, and it is Blend 30, one of the greatest fragrances of all time. I mean, what can you even say about Blend 30 that hasn't been said? I'll try to do a Vintage Hall of Fame review one day. Clary sage, lavender, geranium, carnation, sandalwood, rosemary, oak moss, labdanum, tonka bean, hay, musk, and ambergris. There's definitely this tobacco-like smell into the dry down. Spicy, smoky, and again, it's from 1978, one of the greatest years in perfumery. So Blend 30. Yes, one of the all-time great creations from Ron Winograd, I believe, but there's no perfumer listed in Parfumo. Number 43 is an Eldo fragrance, and it is called Eldo's Intense Rien Intense Incense. This is a flanker of Rien, but I think they amped up not just the incense, but I think they also amped up the labdanum a little bit in here. That's why I put it a little bit higher. The Cistus was amped up. But man, this is a powerhouse fragrance, and it is smoky, spicy, a little smokier into the dry down. I love Rien, and I love what Antoine Lee did with that creation. Number 42 is a decant review from the House of Amouage. It's called Royal Tobacco. Go check out my review. Lots of oily, there was a lot of oils in Royal Tobacco. Frankincense oil, LME resins, prunol, lavender, tobacco absolute, and birch tar and Peru balsam, all these different kind of oily-like feels with labdanum and Assam oud in the base. I really like the tobacco oud frankincense thing that they did, and the fenugreek had this weird, some say baby vomit-like smell, milky type feel. Very complex fragrance. One of Cecile Zarokian's better, newer fragrances, I would say, and I would love a bottle of that. It's just, like I said, can't own everything, but I really enjoyed getting to know Royal Tobacco. Number 42. Number 41 is in a Riz La Dorée, and it's called Agar de Noir. So Agar de Noir is, look at that beautiful bottle, by the way. I really would like to collect some of the others from this collection, but Agar de Noir is sort of this violety, powdery take on like an oud. There was Laotian and Indian oud in here. And I think the labdanum in the base plays a big role here with the tonka benzoin and Peru balsam. I've got a review on the channel. You can check it out. But Agar de Noir is fantastic. It will stain your skin and clothes, though. It's like a very strange take on like a spicy, woody oriental. Really enjoyed that one. At number 41. Number 40 is Diaghilev, one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I mean, what can you say about Diaghilev? Go watch my review. I've got a Hall of Fame review, which, you know, I mean, is it worth $1,000? No, obviously it's overpriced, but for me, this is just one of the greatest fragrances I've ever come across in my journey. For me, for my personal taste, this is it. This sexy, sweaty, sort of body odor like smell, like you and your lover are just cooped up in the room. There's definitely a sexualized aspect to this fragrance. I love the cumin and the civet are much more amped up than in Chypre Extraordinaire. But again, go watch my review of Diaghilev if you would like to know more. So that is number 40. Number 39 is Andy Towers, L'air du Désert Marocain, which is right here. I'm not even going to take the top off because this is very strong. It's known as one of the best spicy ambers ever created. L'air du Désert Marocain is like an instant classic, but it really has part of that tower DNA, if you will. And I think even though the Cistus is in the heart, I think that the ambergris adds this sort of uplifting aspect, this I heard Thomas once say in a video, which he sadly took down, but I remember him saying that it adds this sort of frozen aspect to it. Not in the cold way, but in like you're literally flying over the desert and you can like freeze. Like there's this, the ambergris does this thing like it can like freeze time, and you start smelling a particular part of the scent for a longer than normal time because of what the ambergris does. Because of that, it's not higher. And some of the other tower fragrances are, but what a creation. I love L'air du Desert Marocain, and I love that ambergris sort of accord that Andy Tower built. Okay, number 38 is a Clive Christian, and it is called C for Men, and it is the famous Ostrich Box, me lord. Yes, it is. C for Men is sort of Clive Christian's take on Tuscan leather. And if you've ever smelled Tuscan leather, you cannot get away from that association. Some say like Tuscan leather intense, but C for Men has labdanum and raspberries and leather and all that good stuff. The labdanum, or the cistus, I should say, is in the heart. Okay, next on the list we have Histoire de Parfum. This is number 1740. Okay, so I reviewed this. This is a very butch leather, and it used to be called 1740 Marquis de Sade. If you're not familiar with Marquis de Sade, maybe do a little bit of research, not on one of your work computers. But 1740 is probably my favorite Histoire de Parfum creation. It's very good. It's leathery. It almost feels like Bertrand Duchaufour may have made it, although he didn't. Sylvie Jourdet is listed as the perfumer. Cardamom, patchouli, Divana, leather, immortelle, and labdanum. Go watch my review. One of my all-time favorite, very underrated leather scents. So number 36 is an Aramis fragrance. It is called Devon, and if you like green chypres marketed towards men, this is like a masculine green chypre, one of the all-time greats. Bernard Chant created this. I mean, what a fragrance this is. And if you love this, by the way, and you have not smelled Descendres by Les Abstraits, you have to get your nose on Descendres. It's like an updated niche version of this, but galbanum, mugwort, aldehyde, stone pine needles, cinnamon, oak moss, labdanum, leather, cedar, musk, patchouli, amber. Bernard Chant is like what Roja Dove wishes he was. I mean, Bernard Chant is like the original chypre creator. He was so creative in what he did. And I'm a huge fan of Devon at number 36. Number 35 is an Amouage Decant Overture Woman. I love the saffron and the way everything comes together in Overture Woman. Apple brandy with saffron, rose centrifolia, which are those big roses, I believe, big fat roses, leather, labdanum, and frankincense in the base. Another one of the Woman, Overture Woman, and the other one is Memoir Woman. Those two are right at the top. And Ubar, I'd love a bottle of Ubar. Right at the top of my wish list, number 35. Number 34 is my scent of the day. Finally, and what a scent of the day it was, thanks to Armando. This is Jill Sander Man, or Man Pure, depending on where in the world you're buying this. But look at the short ingredient list right there, so beautiful. Alcohol, water, fragrance, and some sort of violet coloring. That's it. So number 34 is Man Pure. And again, I was mentioning a little bit of this sort of tilt when I was talking about Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis, but this, you know, aldehydic, almost like a soapy take on a leather. Yes, there's the castoreum. Yes, there's a leather, but there's like a soapy take to it. So, Man Pure at number 34. Number 33 is from the house of Balenciaga, and this is Portos. One of my all-time favorite Balenciagas, right up there with Balenciaga Pour Homme for me. I love Portos. Go watch my review. I am, oh my God. I mean, what a creation. One of the greatest uses of castoreum as well. So Portos comes in at number 33. Number 32 is an Andy Tower, and it is Andy Towers La Oud. Now, this is no longer like this with the writing. Now there's a sticker that goes on the front. But La Oud is one of probably my favorite oud compositions I've discovered recently outside of the house of Ensars and Bortnikovs and Arives, like this kind of a house. This is absolutely amazing with the castoreum and the sort of cistus. Oh my God. This sort of rubbery smell to the oud, slightly balloon-like, with the Mysore sandalwood, as he says, and tobacco, and rose and patchouli and myrrh, and oh man, what a creation this is. Shout out to Andy Tower for kind of taking his time, but then putting out something like that in 2018. What an oud release that is. So my kind of oud. Lots of castoreum, lots of leathery oud, balloony, leathery touch. 31 is from the house of Roja, and it is Fetiche Pour Homme. So this is also a leather chypre, if you will, but if you've ever smelled Bel Ami, or if you've ever smelled Pure Distance M, which is coming up very soon, this is like a sort of slightly smoky take on that. Lots of labdanum, a little bit of fig to differentiate it, but Fetiche Pour Homme, I can't believe that they discontinued this. This is one of the best Rojas in my opinion, and they just axed it like it was nothing. So very sad about that, but what can you do? To those of you who got your bottle before the axe because of me, I at least feel like I'm pointing you in the right direction, because that's a hell of a fragrance. So number 30 is one of my all-time favorite 1980s fragrances. It's called Leonard Pour Homme. This is one of my many 25 ml bottles. I absolutely, positively adore this stuff. The way that the spices and sort of the woody aspects of this, and then you take on the gentlemanly lavender, and just the herbal touches in here. You definitely will see some similarities between these two. Definitely, Dressardi Uomo feels like it kind of took Leonard Pour Homme and then added to it. But Leonard Pour Homme has a note that Leonard is famous for sticking a carrot note in a lot of their fragrances, and not a carrot seed either, but an actual carrot note. So there's that green Artemisia, slightly like that dingy green, earthy green smell. And then there's that carrot, and just imagine like peeling carrots, fresh carrots with castoreum, moss, leather, labdanum in the base, frankincense. What a creation. That's also a Ron Winograd. Shout out to him. So that is number 30. Number 29 is an Amouage. It is Opus 6. There is a review on the channel. You can check it out. Check out Opus 6. This is the vintage presentation, but man, so Opus 6 actually lists a couple interesting notes. So Opus 6 lists Ambranum, which I think is some sort of a Firmenich amber type ingredient. It lists a note called Z11, which I think is a woody Firmenich ingredient, and it literally lists gum rock rose, which is the rose that the labdanum comes from. And I know labdanum and gum rock rose grow heavily around the Oman area. So I think this was sort of Alberto Morillas and Pierre Negrin's attempt to create an oud fragrance without using real oud, is my guess. Like an updated oud fragrance. So Opus 6 is amazing. 28 is from the house of Hashish, or Vijaga, if you will. So good luck pronouncing that. Vijaga. And this is called Hashish Homme, one of the rarest, hardest vintages to find. Like, if vintage fragrances were a boss to beat, this would be at the very end. This would be the final boss. Hashish Homme is an absolute pain in the ass to find. I'm very lucky to have found a bottle. I adore this stuff. The spicy, woody smoke. Oh my God. The way that sort of bitter, spicy, like I mentioned earlier, slightly muddied smelling Artemisia just hits you, man, in the opening. And then that leathery, dry down castoreum and labdanum and frankincense. My God, it's so, and the leather and castoreum and labdanum is so sort of thick and heavy in the base, but then again, the Artemisia and the fruity touches on top, and the bergamot is so sprightly fresh on top. It's this unbelievable contrast. Wow, what a fragrance Hashish Homme is. That is number 28. Number 27 is from the house of MDCI. It is Chypre Palatin, one of Bertrand Ducheffour's masterpieces, if you will. Chypre Palatin is florals and galbanum and resins. Orientals. It's like he took Rochas Femme and updated it for a modern niche fragrance, like only Bertrand Ducheffour could. Stunning iris is in here, and you do get some animalic castoreum and stuff like that. But man, the Cistus is in the top again. That is a trick that he likes to do, but it works out very well. And it makes his fragrances stand apart. But what a creation. Chypre Palatine, one of the greatest Bertrand Duchaufours. Okay, next on the list we have Pure Distance M, which is discontinued according to the brand. This is supposed to smell like the inside of an Aston Martin. Okay, perfumer is listed as Roja Dove. And so rumor is that whenever he created Fétiche Pour Homme and Fétiche really started to take off, he decided he didn't want to supply the oils to Pure Distance anymore to create this fragrance. That is what someone told me. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I will tell you that Pure Distance M is absolutely stunning. It focuses more on the leather than Fétiche. Fétiche goes a little bit more into the smoky, incensey category, churchy incense in a way. Whereas Pure Distance M focuses more on the mossy, leathery with the cistus in the base. Just a beautiful creation at number 26. 25 is one of my all-time favorite fragrances ever. Probably my favorite designer. It is called Antaeus. I've done a full Vintage Hall of Fame review on this. You can check it out. Antaeus is absolutely stunning. My God, man. Fuck me. I could just literally just sit here and smell this damn thing all night. It is fantastic. Just made for me. I mean, it's got the dirty castoreum, but it also has a little bit of that Chanel sparkle with that myrrh, a little bit of beeswax in here, and then some labdanum and oak moss, and this beautiful dark rose that comes in out of nowhere. Just a brilliant creation by Jacques Polge and Francois Demachy. Number 24 is a Chanel. It is 31 Rue Cambon, one of the best, I think, modern chypres I've ever smelled. 31 Rue Cambon is absolutely stunningly beautiful, and it is a simple fragrance, but its simplicity is what makes it so beautiful, I think. Black pepper, iris, ylang, rose, got that Chanel quality to it, you know, with some cistus and patchouli, and man, no one does patchouli like the combination of what Christopher Sheldrake did at Serge Lutens, and then bringing it to Chanel as the director of materials, or whatever you want to call his title there. But fuck, what a fragrance. Number 23 is from the house of Les Abstraits, and this is called L'Adulaire Exquise, one of my favorite rose patchoulis of all time. This is the reason I don't own a bottle of Portrait of a Lady. L'Adulaire Exquise is resins, and it opens up with this beautiful Bulgarian rose and Turkish rose absolute with iris palladia, which is a very expensive iris, and smoky frankincense. It's got a little bit of that Middle Eastern feel, some spices, some cumin, some saffron, but it dries down to this Antaeus-like feel. And I know Antoine Lee loves leaving these little breadcrumbs in here. Castoreum, myrrh, popinac, Spanish labdanum in the base. Wow, what a fragrance. Rose, patchouli, labdanum. I absolutely love what Eugene did and Antoine Lee did with the first three from this house. Cannot wait to see what's next from this house. Okay, next on the list we have Van Cleef & Arpels. This is Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme. This is a dark, rosy chypre with a huge castoreum in the base. Speaking of just amazing fragrances, I talked about Antaeus. I think that the sort of labdanum is a little more turned up here. That's why I put it a little bit higher. Remember, I'm not ranking my favorites. Otherwise, Antaeus would be number one probably. I'm just ranking the way that the labdanum is done in each one of these fragrances, which is impossible to do. I mean, you're just kind of ballparking everything, but leather, frankincense, labdanum with this amazing chypre, smoky chypre, and there's definitely an Antaeus feel to Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme. I wouldn't be surprised if that inspired Jacques Polge. Louis Monet is the perfumer of Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme. Now, one of the most, I would say, a discovery that was an absolute love for me at first sniff. I love it so much I want to back up. This is called Kinski by Kinski for Klaus Kinski's house. And no matter what you think of the man, I know he had mental issues and all this stuff, but man, this fragrance is Giza Schoen's masterpiece that no one talks about. It's got aldehydes, cannabis, black currant. It's probably one of my favorite cannabis fragrances ever. And it's got castoreum, hedione, vetiver. It dries down to this earthy, dark animalic vetiver smell with labdanum and benzoin and suede. I think this is Giza Schoen's masterpiece that no one talks about. Huge fan of Kinski from 2012 at number 20. Number 21 is an Arise Ladore sample review, Atlantic Ambergris. I reviewed 1 and 2. You can check it out. One of the best ambergris fragrances I would say money can buy. It's ambergris with a ton of cardamom and nutmeg. I mean, the spices are really heavy in this fragrance. Beautiful white ambergris, Russian pine, but the sort of labdanum in the base with the apopanax and the cypriol make it feel so heavy. It makes the labdanum really pop in this fragrance. It feels, even though, you know, the white ambergris is sparkly and all that stuff, the fragrance wears much heavier than you would expect. I really enjoy it. I'd love a bottle, but like I said, you know how that goes. So Atlantic Ambergris at number 20. Number 19 is a Bortnikov, and it's called Mysterious Oud. This is like Bortnikov's Oriental take on oud. So lots of things like Tolu balsam and apopanax and the labdanum and vanilla are in the base. So again, go check out my review, and there is a full review on the channel. That's really, really good. Mysterious Oud is good stuff at number 19. Number 18 is from the House of Amouage again, and this is called Fate Woman. I've recently done a full review. This is discontinued, unfortunately. Sadly, one of the most beautiful bottles of all time. Fate Woman is sort of, Amouage does a big Oriental. So I said Bortnikov does one. This is Amouage kind of throwback to opium. Imagine Amouage does opium with this beautiful chili note. Maybe one of the best chili notes I've ever smelled in all of perfume. And frankincense, labdanum, rose, oak moss, castoreum, leather. Dorothy P.O. is the perfumer. I'm very happy to have this old snap cap Fate Woman. So from 2013. Can't believe that's 11 years old. I can't believe it's discontinued either. The Fishman strikes again. Number 17 is Arise Ladore Oud Picante. Man, I would love a bottle of that. When I reviewed it, I struggled with it, but I've since worn that decant many a times, and the parts that I struggled with, I think it's almost like, imagine if Prin Lomros did a proper spicy animalic fragrance with the cumin, the weird types of sandalwood, the Bengali sandalwood and the muhuhu wood, Cistus, apopanax, fossilized amber, labdanum, carrot seed, tobacco, coffee, spikenard, and this Borneo oud, which is very interesting. It can have these weird green type touches to them, and the oudiness, of course, but man, Oud Picante, I'd love an original bottle. Impossible to find. Number 16 is a Tom Ford. It is Amber Absolute. Again, a discontinued Tom Ford, but really one that highlights that labdanum note. It is an amber, but it's a labdanum heavy amber, and I love the way Tom Ford did these sort of heavy takes on labdanum. You'll see just how much I love his take once we get closer to the top, but Amber Absolute is one of the all-time best sort of ambers and takes on labdanum to me at number 16. Number 15 is a Dior, and it is Mitza. So this is one that I would really like a bottle of, but Mitza highlights that sort of labdanum note very well as well. It is labdanum, frankincense, patchouli, spices, cinnamon, coriander, honey, and rose. So really a big fan of that. I need to review it one of these days. But yes, a spicy oriental, heavy on the labdanum. Beautiful stuff is Mitza. Number 14 is Pascal Moribitos, and it is called, did I even grab the bottle? It is called OR Black. This stuff is like a little bit of a hidden gem. I know it's not a hidden gem, but it was done by one of my favorite perfumers of all time, which is Jean-Louis Suizac. He did Bellamy and stuff like that. This is leather, pepper, bergamot, sage, cistus, benzoin, Tonkin musk, vetiver, amber, and oak moss. And my God, man, wearing this is a literal revelation. I mean, it's one of the most interesting takes on cistus and benzoin. They're very heavy, heavily used here, but done with a master stroke. And I'll review that one of these days. Sadly discontinued, but amazing stuff at number 14. Number 13 is YSL Opium. Do I even need to get the bottle? One of the all-time great Orientals. I mean, it is just stunning. Everything from the packaging to the way, my God, the clove, the apopanax, the resins. It is just the vintage is an absolute masterpiece. One of the greatest fragrances ever created. Obviously, it takes bits and pieces from Youth Dew, but the plum, the peach, the balsams, the little bit of castoreum, and of course there's Cistus in the base with the Apopanax and myrrh, and what a creation by Jean-Louis Suizac and Jean Amique. And rumor says that top orange, mandarin orange bit you get from it was done by Raymond Chaillan. So who better to work together to create a fragrance? Number 12 is Interlude Man, and I just put Interlude Man / Interlude Man Black Iris / Interlude 53. Any of the interludes, the labdanum plays a big part in the way that interlude kind of comes together into that smoky, spicy, like you're in an opium tent with the oregano in the top. Just a brilliant fragrance. Frankincense, Apopanax, leather, oud, patchouli, and the Cistus is in the heart. But what a creation by Pierre Negrin. Probably his all-time best-selling or most popular creation is Interlude Man. Number 11, back to Andy Tower, we have Lone Star Memories, my favorite Tower creation. I think it's the most original. I think it's geared towards me the best. It's got the leather, the labdanum, the green geranium, which adds a little bit of the spicy soapiness. Wow, what a creation. I need to review this. This is so brilliantly executed. Lone Star Memories from 2006, and based on my home state, Texas. So shout out to Andy for doing that. At number 11, number 10 is Erosia. We've got Parfum de la Nuit number 1, which I think takes a lot after Tom Ford's Amber Absolute. But PDLN number 1, go watch my review. Rosia's PDLN number 1, bergamot, cistus in the heart, clove, labdanum. So this has both cistus and labdanum in styrax and tolu balsam. Yeah, I mean, it's really Rosia's take, I think, on that Tom Ford style Amber Absolute. But go watch my review. I've got reviews of all 3 of those Parfum de la Nuits on the channel. Number 9 is a decant review. It's called Rosia's Haute Perfumerie from 2019. The reason I emphasize this from 2019 is they have since released a 2024 version of Haute Perfumerie. But that's a beautiful take on labdanum. Go watch my review. Number 8 is Papillon fragrance, and it is called Anubis, which is probably my favorite Papillon. It is so brilliantly me. The resins in here are just done to perfection. The labdanum and saffron and suede. And if you wear this in the heat, the Egyptian jasmine comes out a little bit more. The pink lotus adds this little bit of a twist, giving you this Egyptian feel. What a fragrance. Leathery, smoky, suede-like. And of course, the labdanum adds that sticky, resinous, gummy feel. It's so beautiful and smoky. Number 7 is a Serge Lutton, and this is called La Couche du Diable. This is basically 2 ingredients, oud and labdanum, or cistus if you want to be exact, according to Parfumo. Cistus and oud. And a lot of people say this is like the Serge is back moment, because for a while it felt like he went away. But I think that he originally came back, and the one before this, which I reviewed on the channel, La Participe Passé. So you can go check out my review of that. But yeah, that's one of my favorite takes on labdanum and oud. Number 7, La Couche du Diable, the Devil's Bed Sheets or something like that. Number 6 is Tiziana Terenzi's Labdanum Nero. And you guys may be surprised this is here, but I will tell you what. From a pure labdanum creation, this is so heavily emphasized and so beautiful. I mean, I know the house gets a lot of shit for being like amber wood bombs and stuff like that. Obviously, there's black amber and all this interesting, crazy things in here. Absinthe, myrtle, camphor trees, Latakia tobacco, flowering ash, cognac, slate. There's a slate note, but I'll tell you what. Labdanum Nero is almost named after that gum rock rose, and it's very evident. It's like if you're a labdanum fan, as soon as you smell this, you'll know. Labdanum Nero is a really good fragrance. So I don't know about the rest of the house, but I'm a fan of that one. Number 5 is Tom Ford Sahara Noir. I would love a bottle of Sahara Noir. I just can't find it. But I did review it off of a decant. What a fragrance that is. One of my all-time favorite Labdanums, Sahara Noir. Number 4 is from the House of Roja Dove. It is called Haute Luxe. Well, it's actually called Roja, but everyone calls it Haute Luxe. It's the one with the gold in it because it retails for $3,500, which is insane. Do not pay that. No matter what you do, I don't care how much money you have, don't pay it. Yeah, Haute Luxe is a Labdanum heavy Chypre. Roja says it's a Chypre wrapped in cashmere. I say it's a Labdanum heavy Chypre or a Roja wrapped in a Guerlain, whatever you want to call it. Go watch my review if you're interested in learning more. But yeah, Haute Luxe at number 4. Number 3 is back to the House of Arise Ladore, and you might be surprised, but this is Russian Oud. Russian Oud has one of the best amber Labdanum dry downs I've ever smelled, ever. It is, obviously it's the chocolate oud. It's my favorite chocolate oud, but this takes the dry down and puts it in this category of, like, I've never smelled Labdanum that does what this does. And when you combine it with the oud, it's one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I mean, I think it's really one of the greatest ambers of all time. But, man, the Labdanum, the birch tar, the castoreum, the cacao, the chocolatey oud, the real deer musk, amazing. Amazing stuff by, you know, that lava-like feel is what they describe that Labdanum I'm trying to describe to you guys as. Almost like lava running downhill. Okay, so number 2 and number 1. Number 2 is the Zoo Everlasting, or Everlasting by the Zoo, which I reviewed on the channel thanks to a decant from Rachel, I believe. Check it out. I think Christophe Laudermiel is the owner of the Zoo's brand. Yes, Christophe Laudermiel, and this was also Christophe Hornets helped, but I mean, it's Labdanum and Narcissus, basically, with some moss and musk, but it's basically Labdanum and Narcissus. What a creation. And finally, number 1, is there any doubt? Is there any doubt the greatest Labdanum fragrance of all time, for me, is Le Lion. Le Lion is an absolute masterpiece. It's Shalimar with Labdanum. There's a full review of Le Lion on the channel. You can go check it out. So, this is an absolute marathon of an episode. I can't believe we're 2 hours and 45 minutes in. To all of my loyal subscribers, thank you for watching and commenting and liking and being here with us. I hope this type of content sort of gives you information and stuff to take away. And sometimes you just want to listen to like a friend talk, you know? Sometimes I turn on fragrance videos when I'm just bored and I want to have someone almost like they're there with me. The best reviewers I've found, you know, have this way to kind of almost interact like they're just your friend, you know? And you get connections to some of these people. That's why when people post after a long time away, like AC was gone for a long time. Now that he's back, it's like an old friend coming back, you know? So I am happy that you guys are loving these videos. Thanks to everyone who gives the thumbs up on the video and leaves comments and all the stuff that helps the algorithms. But honestly, this is the type of content I want to put out to help further the understanding of the community. And, you know, if this helps some people, that's exactly why I want to do it. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you can join the interview tomorrow. I know for those of you watching this video later on, me saying about the interview tomorrow, you won't care about it. But it is a big deal right now, and I hope many people can join the live. Prakhar Gupta deserves more love and attention and adoration and all that stuff. So thank you, everybody. Feel like I need to go take a nap after this. Cheers, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.